Chapter 928. Chapter 927. Warning. Right, I forgot to tell you. Other than being an expert in poisoning, I'm also a mystic class spiritual practitioner. Yao Wang said faintly as he looked at Peng Zhan. His tone filled with warning. Give me an answer in 2 days. Sihua and Yao Wang stood up and walked out of the office, as if they had Peng Zhan in their grasp. In fact, Sihua did indeed have Peng Zhan in his grasp. From Peng Zhan's attitude today, it was clear that he didn't dare say anything. This was completely different from the past. Last time, he came to Peng Zhan's office after Lin Yi was injured. But Peng Zhan was incomparably calm, sending him away with a few words. Although Lin Yi was injured, his strength was still there, so Peng Zhan had something to rely on. But this time was different. Without Lin Yi's help, Peng Zhan had become a fat sheep waiting to be slaughtered. Peng Zhan sighed dejectedly as he watched the two leave. He was so useless, unable to fight back at all against the threats of these forces. Facing enemies that couldn't be dealt with using normal methods, Peng Zhan felt a deep sense of helplessness. Of course, he knew that he was unlucky. There were so many billionaires out there, and none of them were targeted by these noble houses, but he had to be the one. Peng Zhan finally understood that he was just a businessman. It was impossible for him to go against these powerful noble houses. Without a powerful trump card, he wouldn't be able to go against them. It seemed that he wasn't a qualified businessman yet. As a businessman, he had to know when to give and when to give and when to give and when to give and when to others. Peng Zhan had taken over Peng Zhan Industries from his father's hands, and it had been a smooth sailing without much trouble, until Jin Gubong wanted to take over the company, and Peng Zhan had gone down the wrong path. If it wasn't for Lin Yi, Peng Zhan's best option would have been to compromise with Sihua and split the real estate company, selling it to Zhao Qibing at a low price to protect his own company. Sometimes, compromising was necessary when doing business. If you didn't know when to give and when to give and when to offend people you shouldn't have offended, you'd be doomed. But Peng Zhan had chosen to let Lin Yi join him forcefully, and this was the beginning of the clash with Zhao Qibing. If Lin Yi could stay by Peng Zhan's side, naturally, he would be able to protect Peng Zhan Industries, but if something were to happen to Lin Yi, it would attract Qibing's retaliation. Peng Zhan finally understood this reason. He seemed to be very strong before, but it wasn't wise at all. At Xuemin's house, Lin Yi couldn't help but shake his head after ending the call with Peng Zhan. House Zhao's sudden appearance had caught him off guard, but there was nothing he could do about it. No matter what, he was still employed by Peng Zhan before he left, and he could only place his hopes on the new master Peng Zhan had hired. Boss, what's wrong? Did you run into some trouble? Fatty Lai saw Lin Yi frowning, as if he had run into some kind of trouble. It's nothing. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. He couldn't even protect himself now. What else could he do? Pho. Lin Yi took a deep breath. Today, everything his enemies had done to him, he'd return it back double in the future. Grandpa Guan, Fatty Lai, I'm leaving. This time I'm here to say goodbye. Lin Yi suppressed the thoughts of revenge in his heart and said calmly to the two before turning to Kong Xiaobo. I'll leave Xiaobo in your care from now on. Ah, boss, you're leaving? Why are you leaving? Fatty Lai jumped up from the sofa. He thought that Lin Yi had called him over to discuss the new product launch next month, but he didn't expect Lin Yi to say goodbye. Yeah, I'm injured and I've lost all my strength. There are a lot of enemies here. Lin Yi briefly explained his situation to Guan Xuemin, Fatty Lai, and Kong Xiaobo. Guan Xian, on the other hand, was making tea for them. She just walked in with a tray when Lin Yi announced that he was leaving. She froze, dropping the tray in her hands onto the floor, shattering the teacups and spilling the tea all over the floor. I'm sorry. Guan Xian realized that she'd lost her composure and quickly bent down to pick up the broken pieces. She was extremely disappointed. Was Lin Yi leaving? Why was he leaving so soon? Between them, it hadn't even started and it was already over? Guan Xian's mind was a complete blank, her heart a mess. Her tender hand was cut by the teacup shards on the ground, fresh blood gushing out. The pain brought Guan Xian back to her senses. Xian, are you okay? Why were you so careless? Guan Xuemin saw that his granddaughter's hand was bleeding, and he asked nervously. It's nothing, just a flesh wound. I accidentally touched the broken pieces, Guan Xian said, a little embarrassed. She bandaged other people's wounds every day, so she wasn't afraid of blood. She didn't mind that she was bleeding, and she just wanted to bandage it herself. Fatty Lai, give her a bottle of injury medicine. I saw that you brought a lot of samples today? Lin Yi said to Fatty Lai. Yes, boss. Fatty Lai's face was full of sorrow at the thought of Lin Yi leaving, but the more he thought about it, the sadder he felt. Finally, he couldn't hold back his tears and he started to cry. Huh? Fatty Lai? Lin Yi didn't know whether to laugh or cry at Fatty Lai's reaction. Guan Xian's hand is cut, why are you crying? I'm sad, boss. Are you really leaving? Fatty Lai wiped his tears as he went to get the injury medicine for Guan Xian. He still had to listen to Lin Yi, and even if he was sad, he still had to get the medicine first. Fatty Lai thought that Lin Yi wanted to talk to him about the product launch next month, so he brought some samples of the injury medicine. Now it was time to put them to good use. It's not like I won't come. I'm just going there to seek refuge, and I'll come back when I recover, Lin Yi said. It won't affect your medical company. Chapter 929. Chapter 928. Guan Shuamin's suggestion. Kong Xiaobo was the first to know that Lin Yi was leaving. He had heard the news from Tang Yun. Tang Yun was the one who told Lu Xinwen and Xiaofan that she was going back to his hometown with Lin Yi. Naturally, Kong Xiaobo knew that Lin Yi was leaving. Although he appeared calm and resolute, he felt exceptionally sad in his heart. He hadn't known Lin Yi for long, but Lin Yi treated him as a brother and a friend. And Kong Xiaobo also treated Lin Yi as his boss. The changes that Lin Yi brought to him were too big. In just a month he not only gained confidence but he also had his own career. This was unimaginable in the past. However, no matter how much he didn't want to leave Lin Yi, he couldn't persuade him to stay. Tang Yun had tried to persuade him to stay, but in the end she still left with Lin Yi. Kong Xiaobo even had the urge to bring Xiaofan to follow Lin Yi, but he suppressed the thought rationally. It wasn't loyalty, it was nonsense. Lin Yi was going back to seek refuge and recover his strength. What was he going to do? He might as well stay here and work hard to manage the company for Lin Yi. This was what he should be doing, and it was what Lin Yi was happy to see. Alright, stop crying. Lin Yi knew that Fatty Lai was a crybaby. It wasn't strange for him to wipe his tears at the drop of a hat. Guan Shuamin, who had been silent all this time, suddenly opened his mouth. Actually, if you don't want to leave, I have an idea. Don't want to leave? What idea? Lin Yi was startled as he looked at Guan Shuamin. What do you think of Xin Xin? Guan Shuamin pondered for a while and suddenly asked. Quack. Lin Yi's eyes went wide at the words. Lin Yi had been hesitant when Peng Zhan told him this, but now that Shuamin was saying the same thing, how could Lin Yi not know what he was getting at? Was Guan Shuamin looking for a grandson-in-law as well? Sweat, it seems like I'm very popular. Grandpa Guan, why are you asking this all of a sudden? But Lin Yi pretended like he didn't understand. Guan Xian's pretty, she's a good cook. Guan Xian, who was applying medicine to herself, tensed up when she heard her grandpa's words. How could she not know what her grandpa was thinking? Her grandfather wanted to betroth her to Lin Yi. Guan Xian was well aware of that. It was just that Lin Yi already had a girlfriend, so Guan Xian wasn't too clear about it. Hearing her grandpa talk to Lin Yi in such a serious manner today, Guan Xian's heart skipped a beat. Guan Xian didn't have high hopes, but she felt that quietly liking someone was also a very happy thing. She didn't have to go for it, as long as she could be by his side and watch him. But even so, Guan Xian really wanted to know what Lin Yi's attitude towards her was. And so, Guan Xian pretended to apply medicine, but her ears perked up as she listened to Lin Yi's answer. When she heard Lin Yi's evaluation of her, her heart felt as sweet as honey. Wasn't Lin Yi talking about the best candidate for a good wife and mother? Guan Xian's breathing quickened, and her face reddened. Did he like her? Haha, if that's the case, then how about I betroth her to you? Guan Shuamin laughed. If you become my grandson-in-law, then you'll be my disciple in medicine. Although you don't need me to teach you with my name, your enemies won't bother you anymore. I'm just a scholar, but the noble houses and some of the nobles in Yanjing will still give me some face. With me here, no one will dare to touch you. Guan Shuamin wasn't boasting. Lin Yi naturally knew that if he agreed, Zhao Qibing wouldn't dare to openly make an enemy out of Guan Shuamin. no matter how angry he would be. After all, Guan Shuamin had the support of many noble houses and nobles. Guan Shuamin was a famous medical expert in the country, and many people had been treated by him. It could be said that Guan Shuamin's network was very wide. Linny didn't know how to answer at that moment. After all, Guan Xian was sitting right next to him. If Linny rejected directly, it would definitely hurt Guan Xian's feelings, and that wasn't something Linny wanted to see. However, Linny had a good impression of Guan Xian, but it wasn't to the point where he wanted to protect her in the Guan house. I'll go make some tea, you guys talk. Guan Xian didn't think that her grandfather would say it out so directly, and in front of her at that. How could she say it out loud? And so, Guan Xian subconsciously wanted to hide. She found an excuse, stood up, and stumbled to the kitchen. Linny was about to tactfully answer Guan Shuamin's suggestion when the door of the villa opened. Guan Xiaoxiong walked in with a dark face and said unhappily, "Dad, what are you thinking? How can you just marry Xian to someone? And in a dangerous situation? Plus, Xian is already married to someone else. Even if you want to break off the engagement, you should talk to the person first. Why are you acting on your own now?" Guan Xiaoxiong had been hiding in front of the villa for a long time, and when he heard that his father was going to marry his daughter to this young man named Linny, he couldn't take it anymore. He pushed the door open and rushed in. Not to mention that Guan Xiaoxiong didn't have a good impression of Linny to begin with, and now that Linny had gotten himself into trouble outside and wanted to use this method to escape, how could he agree to it? What if Guan Xian was in danger? "Guan Xiaoxiong, do you have any manners? Can't you see I'm in the middle of a discussion? Get out, get out." Guan Shuamin didn't expect his son to barge in at this time and say such things that he couldn't get out of the situation. Guan Shuamin's temper flared up. He usually didn't get angry, but now he was angry. He pointed at Guan Xiaoxiong and wanted to kick him out. "I can leave, but I'm afraid that you'll be tricked." "It's fine if your reputation is tricked, but I don't want my daughter to be dragged into this." Guan Xiaoxiong humphed and pulled Guan Xian out. Guan Xian didn't know what to do. She didn't think that her father and grandfather would clash so fiercely. She didn't know what to say. "Grandpa Guan, I'll be leaving first. Anyway, I'll leave the medical company to you and Fatty Lai." Linny shrugged self-deprecatingly as he stood up. He didn't need to say anything else under these circumstances, and there was no way he could get involved in Shuamin's family conflict. He might as well take his leave. Chapter 930. Another uninvited guest. Oh. Linny breathed out in relief after exiting Shuamin's villa. Guan Xiaoxiong's sudden intrusion had solved a problem for Linny. Otherwise, Linny wouldn't know how to answer him. Although Linny was reluctant to part with Guan Xian, this girl had left a deep impression in Linny's heart. Linny couldn't stay. He had to find a way to recover his strength. Shuamin's words were right. He may have lost his strength, but he still had his medical skills. It was possible for him to gain some status, but he still believed that medical skills were only a support. Only strength was the capital. What Pingzhan didn't expect was that two uninvited guests came to the company that evening just as he was about to get off work. Most of the employees had left after work, but Pingzhan didn't leave. He gritted his teeth and made a difficult decision. He would satisfy the Xiao family's and Zhao Qibing's requests. He couldn't satisfy the Xiao family's requests completely, but he could give them the Pingzhan Business Building and Pingzhan Business Hotel. As for the 200 million, Pingzhan wasn't prepared to give it to them. He was a smart businessman, and from the Xiao family's tone, he could tell that the 200 million was negotiable. Zhao Qibing, on the other hand, couldn't bargain with him. He asked for a branch company, and it was one of the most valuable branch companies. The real estate company itself wasn't worth much, but the few pieces of land in the company's hands were priceless. There was no lack of luxurious villas in the last piece of land, and one of them was worth tens of millions. But Pengzhan knew that this was what they wanted, and he had to give it to them. Pengzhan's only hope was that after he satisfied the Xiao family and Zhao Qibing, the Xiao family and Zhao Qibing wouldn't bother him anymore. Pengzhan Industries didn't have much assets left, but it was enough to maintain its operations. But just as Pengzhan made the decision, the door to his office was pushed open. Pengzhan was already used to people barging in today, from Wei Zhizuan to the Xiao family, to Zihua and Yaowang, and now 2 more. Yu Haitian? Peng Zhan recognized one of them, Yu Haitian. He knew that he was the person in charge of House Yu's business in Yanjing, but he didn't know the middle-aged man beside him. Not bad, Chairman Chu. You actually recognize me. Yu Haitian laughed, but his expression was one of arrogance. He may be a businessman, but managing the business for House Yu was something Peng Zhan couldn't compare to. Peng Zhan's face darkened. Those who came didn't have good intentions, and now that House Yu suddenly barged in, Peng Zhan had a bad feeling. Could it be that they were here for trouble as well? Peng Zhan couldn't be blamed for guessing this way. After all, there were 2 groups of people here today, and back in the villa Lin Yi had clashed with House Yu's Yukuan because of General Wei Wu even injuring him. House Yu's purpose for coming here was self-evident. I didn't know that Mr. Yu was here. Peng Zhan didn't finish before the middle-aged man beside Yu Haitian interrupted him. You're Peng Zhan? How dare you? You gave birth to a lowly daughter who actually let someone injure my son. Yu Bide was here for trouble, and with the pain he felt for his son, he couldn't take it anymore. He exploded the moment he saw Peng Zhan. If it weren't for House Yu's benefit, Yu Bide would have slapped Peng Zhan to death, and then go after his daughter and Lin Yi. Peng Zhan's heart tightened. As expected, they were here for trouble, and it was for that matter. That's right, I'm Peng Zhan. I wonder if Mr. Yu has anything to teach me? Peng Zhan smiled bitterly, knowing that he couldn't escape today. Teach me? Humph. My son is crippled now. A cripple who can't even get up from his bed. What do you think I have to teach you? Yu Bide raged. Even if I kill your entire family, it won't be enough to appease the anger in my heart. Third uncle, please calm down. We're honest businessmen, we can't kill each other. Yu Haitian smiled, plus we're here to talk about compensation, Mr. Peng Zhan. Of course, if you can't compensate us, we can still kill their entire family. Anger. Peng Zhan was shaking with anger. Yu Haitian's words sounded nice, but it was full of threats. If he couldn't compensate them, he would kill his entire family? Wasn't this too much? However, facing the head of the 4 big and 5 small houses, House Yu, Peng Zhan didn't have any temper at all. Peng Zhan didn't doubt that House Yu's words were just to scare him. If House Yu killed him, it would be as easy as stepping on an ant. At most, if they investigated, there would be countless people who would take the blame. Yu Kuan was the one who trespassed, yet he blamed it on Peng Zhan when he got injured. Peng Zhan felt wronged. But you can't reason with House Yu. With House Yu's current attitude, it was obvious that they were here to cause trouble. You tried to reason with them, but they acted like gangsters, and you didn't have any temper at all. That's true. Yu Bide nodded. Haitian, you should speak. Tell him our conditions. If he doesn't agree, I'll kill his entire family. Mr. Peng Zhan, my third uncle has a short temper, and Kuan is his only son, so please don't mind him. Haitian smiled. As long as you fulfill House Yu's conditions, he won't kill your entire family. Peng Zhan's face turned purple. He had never felt so wronged before, and he couldn't fight back at all. No matter what Haitian said, he couldn't do anything because they weren't on equal footing. He was the one being bullied. What conditions? Peng Zhan took a deep breath and asked. From the Xiao family to Zhao Qibing to House Yu, all of them were powerful existences, and none of them were people Peng Zhan could mess with. Peng Zhan didn't know if there would be more powerful people coming after him, but he couldn't deal with these people anymore. Let your daughter marry cousin Yu Kuan as a concubine, and your Peng Zhan Industries will be given to House Yu as a dowry. Yu Haitian stated House Yu's conditions word by word. What? Peng Zhan was shocked and his face changed. House Yu's conditions exceeded the Xiao family and Zhao Qibing's. It was unbelievable. House Yu, you've gone too far. How could Peng Zhan agree to such conditions? Chapter 931. That's bullying you. Mr. Yu, don't you think that this condition is a bit too much? Peng Zhan asked in a low voice. Too much? In our dictionary, we've never heard of the word too much. Yu Bide laughed and slammed his palm on the stone tea table in front of him. Immediately, the hard natural stone shattered into pieces, and shards flew everywhere. Some of the shards flew directly onto Peng Zhan's face, scratching his skin. Peng Zhan stood there, his expression indescribably sad. House Chu's crisis had come, but he didn't have a plan to deal with it. The second condition, I can agree to it. I'll transfer all the shares to you, but the first condition, Yao Yao can't marry into your house. Peng Zhan hesitated and finally made this decision. He could lose the company, but he couldn't lose Yao Yao. Marry into House Yu as a concubine? Yao Yao would suffer a lot in the future. How could he ruin her happiness? Besides, it was her choice who she married. Why would he interfere? House Yu's words are like spilled water. How can we take them back? Haitian said coldly, Peng Zhan, you need to understand that we're not bargaining with you. We're giving you a choice. Either your whole family dies, or you marry your daughter and pay the price. Make your choice. Don't go too far. Peng Zhan gritted his teeth, his eyes shooting out flames of anger. He clenched his fists tightly, his body shaking uncontrollably. What do you mean by going too far? Ubaid smiled. So what if we're bullying you? You can do whatever you want. You can find people, helpers, but let's see, who dares to cause trouble for House Yu? Don't forget the identity behind House Yu. The rules of the common world don't work on hidden houses. Ubaid's words hinted that if Peng Zhan had any help, he should bring it out as soon as possible. Stop hiding it. He wanted to lure out the power behind Lin Yi. Of course, if Lin Yi didn't come out to help, it meant that Lin Yi didn't have any power behind him, and House Yu would be able to do whatever they wanted. You guys, Peng Zhan felt a sharp pain in his chest. He held his chest as he breathed heavily. He didn't think that House Yu wouldn't even talk about conditions, asking for everything. One had to know that Peng Zhan had already compromised, but they were still pushing. By the way, isn't your daughter's bodyguard very powerful? It's fine if she doesn't want to marry. As long as she shows some of her strength, I'll let her go. Ubaid was afraid that Peng Zhan wouldn't remember the strength behind Lin Yi, so he reminded him. Peng Zhan was speechless. He didn't understand what Ubaid meant. He thought that Ubaid knew that Lin Yi had lost all his strength and was purposely making sarcastic remarks. Otherwise, if Lin Yi hadn't lost his strength, how would they have dared to come to him together? Think about it yourself. Give us an answer in 2 days. You only have 2 days. With that, Ubaid left Peng Zhan's office with Yu Haitian. Peng Zhan sat on the floor helplessly as he watched the two leave. He didn't know what to do, how to do it. House Chu was already in trouble, but who could he blame? Peng Zhan couldn't do anything even if he regretted it. If it weren't for his benevolence back then, causing Gubong to have thoughts of betrayal and join forces with Qibing, this wouldn't have happened today. The greed of humans was limitless, especially for people like Jin Gubong and Zhao Qibing. As long as their greed grew, it would grow endlessly. Although they gave up temporarily because of Lin Yi's appearance, once Lin Yi lost his strength, these greedy people would come to him again. And now, not only was he in bigger trouble, but he also made some enemies for Lin Yi. Otherwise, Lin Yi wouldn't have to go back to his hometown to hide. Although it wasn't entirely because of him that Lin Yi became enemies with these people, if it wasn't because of him, Lin Yi wouldn't even be able to get in touch with these people, let alone become enemies with them. These 2 days, Jiang Wen felt that his kidney was in pain, and he often peed blood. So he went to the hospital for a checkup, and the results shocked him. Young man, where did you get this kidney? It's rejecting it, and from the indicators it doesn't match at all. We need to remove it as soon as possible. The doctor said to Jiang Wen with the report. Wah! Jiang Wen froze. That's impossible. This kidney is mine. I didn't get it changed. How can it reject it? Your own. That can't be right. There are obvious signs of a kidney transplant on your body. Plus, this kidney looks a little different from your other kidney. The doctor couldn't confirm that it was a dog kidney from the X-ray, but he felt that it was different from Jiang Wen's other kidney. After all, people's kidneys were different, and they weren't exactly the same. There were some who looked abnormal. That? Jiang Wen didn't know how to explain the reason behind it. It'd be troublesome if the doctor got suspicious and called the police. Young man, your kidney really doesn't match, and there are signs of rejection. If this goes on, you won't even be able to keep your life. It's better to remove it as soon as possible. The doctor said seriously. All right, I'll think about it. Jiang Wen frowned. It wasn't easy for him to get his kidney back. How could he remove it now? Wouldn't that be a waste? The first thing Jiang Wen did when he got out of the hospital was to call Pinliang. Zhong Pingliang was celebrating with Xiaofu at home. He made a shushing gesture to Xiaofu when he saw Jiang Wen's call and picked up. Hello? Wen bro, what's up? Pingliang bro, it's big. Jiang Wen said hurriedly. The kidney I got doesn't match. Doesn't match? How is that possible? Isn't that your original kidney? Zhong Pingliang pretended to be surprised, but he was laughing coldly in his heart. It'd be weird if it did match. Unless you were a dog, how could you possibly match a dog's kidney? Yeah, I don't know either. But I just went to the hospital for a checkup, and it really doesn't match. Jiang Wen said, plus, the doctor wants me to remove it. Chapter 932. Kidney failure again. It can't be wrong. I do feel uncomfortable, my kidney hurts and I'm peeing blood. I went to a big hospital for a checkup. Jiang Wen said. Is that so? Could it be that the kidney has been in my body for a long time and was assimilated by me? That's why it rejected your body? Pingliang started bullshitting. He couldn't let Jiang Wen find out, otherwise Jiang Wen wouldn't let him go so easily. Oh, what you said is possible. Jiang Wen heard Pingliang's explanation and understood. Did you take a lot of medicine to prevent the kidney from rejecting your body? Yes, it must be the medicine that changed your kidney. Pingliang thought that Jiang Wen was quite smart. He didn't even know how to explain it, and he already found a reason for it. Is that so? Then what should I do? Right now my kidneys are rejecting it. Jiang Wen wanted to cry but no tears came out. His kidney. How could it be assimilated by Pingliang just like that? What should he do? He didn't dare to go to a big hospital to find a solution. After all, this matter was a bit strange. If he told the truth, it was hard to guarantee that the doctor wouldn't be suspicious. If the doctor asked him why he transplanted the kidney to someone else and then transplanted it back, how would he explain it? Plus, he took a lot of medicine to prevent the kidney from rejecting it. If the doctor had another solution, he wouldn't have asked him to do the surgery. It wasn't like he couldn't afford it. Your situation is a little special, but I know a miracle doctor. You can go to him. He might have a solution. Pingliang said after some thought. Oh, miracle doctor. Where? Tell me, I'll go to him. Jiang Wen said quickly. Go to Floating Cloud Bar and find Zhao Yaowang. He's Master Bing's family doctor, and his medical skills are quite good. He's very famous these days. Have you heard of him? Pingliang said. I've heard of him. The internet seems to be saying that Zhao Yaowang is really good. Jiang Wen nodded. I'll go to him now. Pingliang hung up the phone and cursed at the idiot before calling Master Bing. Hello? Qibing picked up the phone. He was having a great time listening to Zihua and Yaowang's report. It seemed that Peng Zhan was at the end of his rope, and Lin Yi hadn't appeared yet. This meant that all the information was correct, and Lin Yi was crippled. He was now a cripple. Qibing was overjoyed at the thought of owning a real estate company. Master Bing, I'm Zhong Pingliang. Zhong Pingliang said. Oh, it's Liangzi. What's the matter? Under normal circumstances, Zhao Qibing wouldn't talk to Pingliang directly, but since he was in a good mood today, he didn't get mad at him. Pingliang, on the other hand, called because of the urgency of the matter. Master Bing, I've introduced a fat sheep to you. You just have to rip him off. Oh? Really? That's great. What illness? Qibing's mood brightened when he heard that someone was giving him money again. It's that Jiang Wen, the one who got a dog kidney, Pingliang said. He's showing signs of rejection now. Yaowang will decide how to deal with it. No problem. Xiao Liangzi, I will remember this merit of yours. House Zhong will definitely benefit from it. Qibing said. It's my duty to do things for Master Bing. Why would I need any benefits? Pingliang said hypocritically. After Pingliang hung up the phone, Xiaofu gave him a thumbs up. Liang bro, you're brilliant. Brilliant. This Jiang Wen is dead because of you. What a ruthless move, killing without spilling blood. He should be thanking you for tricking him to death. Of course, that's the best way to treat your enemy. Pingliang laughed. I, Pingliang, am no longer the Pingliang I used to be. What we're doing now is smart, unlike before, where we only knew how to do things recklessly. Yeah, Liang bro. I've noticed that you're getting smarter and smarter. Xiaofu nodded. Heh, come. Let's continue celebrating Lin Yi's death and Pingzhan's fall. Pinliang raised his glass. Cheers. Xiaofu said happily. Right, Liang bro, you said that Lin Yi is like this now. Why don't we go and kick him a little and get some benefits back? What for? You idiot. Pinliang glared at Xiaofu. Why can't your IQ grow like mine? Why are you still at kindergarten level? Do you dare go to elementary school level? I haven't been through life and death. I don't have opportunities like you, Liang bro, Xiaofu laughed dryly. But why can't we go? First of all, don't underestimate that Lin Yi. He's able to toy with us like this, even crippling me. He's no ordinary person. Pinliang humphed. That kid's the best at pretending to be weak. Did you forget how badly he played us? That's true. But this time he lost his strength, right? Xiaofu nodded, then shook his head. Lost? How do you know? Pinliang said. How do you know if he's really gone or not? What if he's lying? It's not like he hasn't done it before. Master Bing thought that he lost his strength last time, but what happened? The skyscraper collapsed again. I see. Xiaofu thought about it. It made sense, but he still asked. But why hasn't Lin Yi done anything yet? I don't understand that kid. He's not like that idiot Zhang Wen who I can play with. Pinliang shook his head. In other words, I'm traumatized. Lin Yi's situation isn't something a normal person can understand. Oh, that's true. Xiaofu nodded. That's the first thing. Is there a second thing? The second thing is, look, the ones fighting for benefits are all people like Xiao family and Master Bing. My old man, as Master Bing's subordinate, would think that we're stealing food from a tiger's mouth? That wouldn't be good, would it? Pinliang said. Liang bro, you've thought of everything. Xiaofu said, impressed. Now's not the time for us to show off. When Zhang Naipeo leaves the mountain, that's when I, Pinliang, will show off. Pinliang said proudly. Chapter 933. Too evil. Zhang Wen had been very happy these past few days. Not only did he get his kidney back, but he also got the underground arena that the firewolves promised him. What Zhang Wen didn't expect was that the firewolves promised to send him a mystic early-phase physical practitioner. But now they sent him a mystic mid-phase peak physical practitioner. This huge difference in strength surprised Zhang Wen beyond words. This was a practitioner who was one level higher than Lin Yi. Of course, Zhang Wen didn't know that Lin Yi had lost all his martial arts. He had been focusing on his kidney these past few days, and he didn't have the mood to ask about other things. However, when Zhang Wen found out that his kidney didn't match, he came back to reality from his fantasy. He didn't have the mood to think about other things anymore. He rushed to the floating cloud bar and saw Master Bing and Yaowang. Zhang Wen knew Master Bing and Sihua. They even worked together to sell their kidneys, so they weren't strangers. Zhang Wen told them his purpose as soon as he entered the bar. Master Bing and Yaowang, who already knew the truth, pretended to be surprised as they looked at Zhang Wen. Master Wen, didn't you get your kidney back? How can it not match? I don't know. It's like this, Zhong Pingliang said that it might be because my kidney was in his body for too long, and it's assimilated. Zhang Wen said with a bitter face. The hospital can't do anything now. They want me to have a kidney resection, but I don't want to lose my kidney. This is my original kidney, and if it's removed, wouldn't I be getting it back for nothing? So I can only go to Yaowang. I heard that Yaowang is a great doctor. Do you have a way? The kidney doesn't match? Yaowang had received a hint from Master Bing that Zhang Wen was quite rich, and he had to think of a way to get some money from him. However, Yaowang didn't have any good ideas for Zhang Wen's current situation. His kidney wasn't even his, it was a dog's. What could he do? When Zhong Pingliang called, Yaowang and Master Bing were discussing a solution, but they couldn't think of anything good. After all, human kidneys and dog kidneys were completely different. No matter how powerful Yaowang was, he couldn't make them match. I'll give you a check first. The Medicine King pondered for a solution. He couldn't let this fat sheep escape. Even if the Medicine King was a swindler, his methods of swindling money were not random. Although he cheated people of their money, he also planted other diseases in them while curing their illnesses, so that he could continue to cheat them of their money. But the problem now was that he couldn't cure Zhang Wen's illness. This was not an illness at all. It was just that the organs did not match. There was no other way but to remove it. No matter how powerful he was, there was no way he could create a compatible kidney for Jiang Wen. What do you think? Yao Wang, do you have any ideas? Jiang Wen saw the frown on Yao Wang's face and his heart sank. He asked carefully. He didn't know that Yao Wang had no ideas at all. The reason why he frowned was because he couldn't find a way to cheat him of his money. That's not easy. Yao Wang shook his head pretentiously. Your kidney has already been assimilated to a great extent. Yeah, otherwise I wouldn't have come to you, Yao Wang. I heard that Zhan Yingjuan's crooked mouth and eyes were fixed by you. Can you fix my kidney too? Jiang Wen begged. I really don't want to lose this kidney again. Fix it a little. Yao Wang sighed. How was he supposed to fix this thing? This kidney wasn't even his. How was he supposed to fix it? Yao Wang didn't have any ideas. Although he could get some money out of Jiang Wen temporarily, his reputation would be ruined if Jiang Wen found out that the kidney was still rejecting him. Yao Wang cared about long-term profits, not short-term profits. He couldn't ruin his future business just because of Jiang Wen. I'm afraid that you will have to remove it. Yao Wang sighed and shook his head. Can I not remove it? Jiang Wen was on the verge of crying. He didn't think that even the famous Yao Wang couldn't do anything about it. If I don't remove you, the medicine king wanted to say that it would be useless to keep it in his body if he did not cut it. However, he suddenly had an idea and thought of a brilliant idea. Wasn't Jiang Wen trying to keep this kidney in his body? It didn't matter if he didn't remove it. As long as he used his pure qi to seal the meridians around the kidney and make it useless, everything would be fine. As long as the nutrition of the kidney was maintained, it wouldn't die. However, it wouldn't function like a normal kidney. That was what Jiang Wen wanted. One kidney wasn't going to kill him. Jiang Wen wouldn't be able to tell if this kidney didn't function. He could just tell him that it was fixed. He was really evil. How could he come up with such a wicked idea? He was Yao Wang after all. Plus, this method was very secretive. Only people with pure qi would be able to do it. Normal people wouldn't even think of this method. Those who didn't know would think that Jiang Wen's kidney had recovered. So Yao Wang wasn't afraid of Jiang Wen going to the hospital for a checkup. What's wrong? Yao Wang, have you thought of a way to save me? Jiang Wen paused when he saw Yao Wang in deep thought. It's not that I can't do it, but it's going to cost me a lot of pure qi. I've already used up a lot of it during my treatment. I can't keep using it anymore. I can't make ends meet. Yao Wang shook his head and sighed. You know that I'm a practitioner. Pure qi is very important to me. It's even more important than my life. Practitioners can't do without pure qi. Just like Lin Yi, he's out of pure qi. Isn't he in trouble now? Yao Wang said. Lin Yi? How come Lin Yi doesn't have pure qi? Jiang Wen paused. He didn't have the time to think about Lin Yi. He quickly said, Yao Wang, saving a life is better than building a 7-floor pagoda. Please save me. I'm willing to spend any amount of money, as long as you can heal my kidney. I see. Yao Wang didn't say anything. He looked at Master Bing. Yao Wang, Master Wen used to be our partner. We had a good time working together. Now that he's in trouble, we can't just leave him to die, can we? Zhao Qibing tried to smooth things over. Chapter 934. Chapter 933 Uninvited Guest. How much? Jiang Wen asked quickly. 10 million. Yao Wang rarely asked for less than 10 million. Although this money was used to scam Jiang Wen, it wasn't used to cure his illness. Yao Wang was a black-hearted man. Even if he wanted to scam someone, he wouldn't do it cheap. Fine. Jiang Wen gritted his teeth. He wasn't rich, and most of his money was given to Hao Sen and the Firewolves. But this time, the Firewolves gave him 20 million to start the underground arena. Taking out 10 million in one go made his heart ache. But for the sake of curing his illness, he'd rather spend it like crazy in the future. He had to spend this 10 million now. All right, I'll do it then. Yao Wang nodded and took out his silver needles. He pretended to poke them into Jiang Wen's body, but in reality, he was secretly using his pure qi to seal the meridians around Jiang Wen's dog kidney. The dog kidney could only absorb nutrients, but it couldn't function as a normal kidney. From now on, Jiang Wen's kidney would live in his body like a parasite. Yao Wang didn't know if this would cause any side effects, but he didn't care. Now that Jiang Wen was cured, it wouldn't have anything to do with him if it happened again in the future. Who knew? He might even be able to collect a huge sum of money from him. Half an hour later, Yao Wang finished his work, sweating profusely. He wiped the sweat off his forehead and said weakly, "It's done. But I've used too much pure qi, I need to rest." Jiang Wen felt that his kidney wasn't hurting anymore after Yao Wang's work. It was really effective. He was overjoyed. "That's it? Thank you, Yao Wang. Thank you, Yao Wang. Waha, I've finally become a normal person with 2 kidneys." "Yeah, congratulations, Master One," Zhao Qibing said with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. In his heart, he was cursing the kid for being an idiot. "Master Bing, I'll transfer the money to you when I get back. You won't doubt my reputation, right?" Jiang Wen came in a hurry and didn't bring any money with him. He didn't use the phone transfer service. "It doesn't matter. We are also long-term partners. I know your credibility." Zhao Qibing waved his hand. "Just transfer it back to me when you get back. You've given me quite a lot of money in the past." "No problem." Jiang Wen was thinking that he'd go back and try again to see if his kidney had recovered. If it really didn't hurt anymore, he'd transfer the money to Zhao Qibing. Now that his kidneys were healed, he remembered what Yao Wang said about Lin Yi. He asked curiously, "Master Bing, what did Yao Wang say about Lin Yi? Is he out of true qi?" "You don't know." Zhao Qibing froze. He was the one who spread the news that Lin Yi's martial arts were crippled. Logically speaking, everyone who had a grudge against Lin Yi should have gotten the news. Why didn't Jiang Wen know? "I've been peeing blood from kidney pain these past couple of days, and I'm not in the mood to care about other things, so I'm a little out of touch with the news." Jiang Wen smiled bitterly. "I see." Master Bing nodded. He didn't hide anything and told Jiang Wen about what happened to Lin Yi and House Chu. He even told Jiang Wen about the Xiao family, him, and House Yu going to Pengzhan for money. After all, it wasn't a secret. Jiang Wen only needed to ask around when he got back. Plus, Lin Yi was Jiang Wen's enemy. Telling Jiang Wen about this would make him happy and transfer the money to him as soon as possible. "Oh, so you're saying that Pengzhan has nowhere to go?" Jiang Wen asked, surprised. "Of course. This time House Chu is done for." Zhao Qibing laughed. "But I really didn't think that House Yu would join in the fun. They even took all of Pengzhan Industries shares and made Mingyao a concubine of House Yu. TSK, that kid from House Yu got lucky." Zhao Qibing didn't think there was anything wrong with House Yu's participation. He was going to take the real estate company anyway. House Yu might be the #1 noble house in the common world, but he didn't dare to disrespect Zhao Qibing. He was leaving Pengzhan Industries, and he was going to give the real estate company to Zhao Qibing. "Oh." Jiang Wen frowned in his heart, but on the surface, he looked regretful. "Man, if the firewolves supported me, I'd go and get a share. But my case just came out. It's not good for me to be in the limelight. I don't think there's a chance." "Yeah, but you're really unlucky. The whole place was raided by the police. But it's good that you're fine. Where there's life, there's hope." Zhao Qibing, naturally, didn't know that Jiang Wen was thinking about other things. He thought that Jiang Wen was really sad. "Forget it, I'll go first. I'll transfer the money to you when I get back," Jiang Wen said calmly. "Take care, Master One." Zhao Qibing pretended to be warm as he said goodbye. Jiang Wen nodded and said goodbye to Zhao Qibing. He left the floating cloud bar. He had more important things to do. Jiang Wen wasn't an idiot. The reason why he was tricked by Pinliang was because he thought that the kidney belonged to him. He didn't suspect anything else at all. In fact, Jiang Wen was a very cunning person. "Yao Wang, did you fix it for him?" Zhao Qibing couldn't help but ask after Jiang Wen left. "No." Yao Wang quickly took off his jacket. Just like last time, he used his pure energy to make himself sweat. In fact, the amount of pure energy he used on Jiang Wen wasn't even as much as the amount of pure energy he used to make himself look like he was sweating. Zhao Qibing paused. "I just made his dog kidney lose its function and sealed some of his meridians. Other than absorbing nutrients like a parasite, he can't do anything else." Yao Wang explained. "Ha!" Zhao Qibing heard Yao Wang's explanation and was overjoyed. "That's too mean, too mean." "Haha, but I like it. That's right, working for Master Bing. How can you get rich without being mean? Yao Wang said respectfully, Master Bing, I'll go take a shower first. I can't take it anymore, it's so hot. Go go, you really are my god of wealth. Ha ha ha. Zhao Qibing laughed happily. His luck was really good recently. Linny was done for, and his business was getting bigger and bigger. Once Pingzhan and Linny were done for, Songshan would be Zhao Qibing's world. After leaving the floating cloud bar, Zhang Wen drove to Pengzhan Industries. Zhang Wen was the fifth uninvited guest that came to Pengzhan Industries today. Chapter 935. Taking Advantage. Pengzhan didn't understand when he saw Zhang Wen walk in. Was he here to take advantage of the situation as well? Zhang Wen, what are you doing here? Pengzhan frowned. He didn't seem to have any conflict with Zhang Wen, and his daughter only rejected Zhang Wen's pursuit. Uncle Chu, I'm here to help you, Zhang Wen said humbly, maintaining the attitude of a junior in front of Pengzhan. He was walking a different path, not to force Pengzhan, but to take advantage of the situation. Help me? Help me with what? Pengzhan paused and asked. Uncle Chu, you must be in a lot of trouble right now, right? So many people are looking for you, Xiao family, House Yu and Zhao Qibing. You must be panicking right now, right? Zhang Wen smiled. Did you come here to make fun of me? Pengzhan was annoyed and didn't want to waste time with Zhang Wen. What do you want? Uncle Chu, don't be so distant. Don't you know who I am? I've been Yao Yao's childhood friend since we were young, and I love her so much that I came here to help when I heard you were in trouble. Zhang Wen said. How are you going to help me? Pengzhan asked patiently. Uncle Chu, the reason why things have turned out this way is because that kid Linny is useless. He doesn't have any strength, and that's why your enemies came at the same time. Zhang Wen said. Everyone kicks a man when he's down, and that's the logic of beating a dog when it's down. If Linny hadn't lost his strength, would these people still be looking for trouble? Aren't you spouting nonsense? If Linny was the same as before, why would they be looking for trouble? Pengzhan wasn't happy. Beating a dog when it's down? Are you saying that I'm a dog? But Pengzhan's temper was gone, and he didn't want to argue with Zhang Wen anymore. That's why, if you had a strong backer, wouldn't your problems be solved? Zhang Wen smiled. A powerful backer? Where's the big backer? Pengzhan humphed impatiently. I wouldn't need you to tell me if I had a backer. It's here. Zhang Wen patted his chest disappointedly. Uncle Chu, your big support is me. You? Pengzhan frowned. Yes, you still don't know my real background, do you? Zhang Wen introduced himself proudly. Housen. We're working for the Firewolf Gang now. You must have heard of the Firewolf Gang? Naturally, Chu Pengzhan had heard of the Firewolves before. They were the biggest gang in the north, but they were rather secretive. They controlled a lot of businesses in the dark, but they never did anything personally. They were the kind of gang that people wouldn't easily know about. But Pengzhan had heard that the Firewolves were very powerful, and many big houses had to give them face. Firewolf Gang? Can you get the Firewolves to help me? Pengzhan asked. Of course not. Zhang Wen shook his head awkwardly. Then what's the point of saying this? Pengzhan felt that Zhang Wen was up to no good at this time, so he didn't give him a good face. Zhang Wen laughed dryly. But we can borrow their power. If Yao Yao marries me, then she'll be the daughter-in-law of the Firewolves. When I show up, I believe that the Xiao family, House Yu, and even Zhao Qibing will have to give me face and give up on you. Marry you? Pengzhan couldn't help but be amused. He finally understood what Zhang Wen was planning. So this was what he was planning, to take advantage of the situation. Yes, Zhang Wen said proudly, I'm not afraid to tell you, Uncle Chu, the Firewolves have sent another master to stay by my side, a physical practitioner at the peak of mid-phase of mystic class. House Xiao's Uncle Pai is only a mid-phase physical practitioner, and House Yu's Yubaid is only a mystic early-phase spiritual practitioner. Zhao Qibing's Yao Wang is only a mystic early-phase spiritual practitioner as well. Plus, he's an expert in medicine, so he's not even worth mentioning when it comes to actual combat. Pengzhan froze. He didn't expect Zhang Wen to have such a master by his side. No wonder he dared to talk terms with him. I didn't expect you to have such a powerful master by your side. Pengzhan nodded and said faintly. Yes, Uncle Chu, what do you think? As long as Yao Yao marries me, I'll announce to the public that I, Jiang Wen, am your son-in-law. Then, I'll get my mystic mid-phase physical practitioner to come out and intimidate the public. I think no one will dare disrespect me then. Jiang Wen laughed. But I'm afraid that even if I agree, Yao Yao won't. Peng Zhan, however, rejected Jiang Wen's suggestion. So Jiang Wen, please leave. What? Jiang Wen froze. He didn't expect Peng Zhan to reject his suggestion. When he first came here, he was full of confidence. As far as he knew, Peng Zhan was at his wits' end. Other than accepting his suggestion, only death awaited him. But Peng Zhan really rejected it. Jiang Wen panicked. Uncle Chu, what do you mean by this? Don't you want to protect Peng Zhan Industries anymore? To me, Yao Yao's happiness is more important than Peng Zhan Industries. Peng Zhan shook his head. Working with Jiang Wen was like asking a tiger for its skin. Especially after knowing Jiang Wen's dark background, Peng Zhan didn't want to work with him anymore. Plus, Yao Yao wouldn't agree to marry Jiang Wen. What was the difference between that and marrying into House Yu? With Yao Yao's personality, she would rather die than marry into House Yu. But even if Yao Yao doesn't marry me, she still has to marry into House Yu. Jiang Wen said unwillingly. Could it be that Uncle Chu already has a plan? No. Peng Zhan shook his head decisively. But Yao Yao won't marry into House Yu. Jiang Wen heard Peng Zhan's words and calmed down. So Peng Zhan didn't have any other plan. So Peng Zhan's rejection must be because he was still hoping that House Yu didn't push him too far. So Peng Zhan must think that he could negotiate with House Yu again. Chapter 936. Chapter 935. Sangsa? Peng Zhan replied faintly, his face expressionless. Actually, I do want to help House Chu. But I don't have any grudges with the Xiao family, House Yu or Master Bing. If I don't have a reason to stand up for them, then it'll be hard for me in the future. So I can only let Yao Yao marry me, no one can say anything about it. It'll be hard on Yao Yao, but the heavens and earth can see my feelings for Yao Yao, and I'll treat her well in the future. Jiang Wen continued after seeing no response from Peng Zhan. Oh, I understand, you can leave now. Peng Zhan nodded and sent Jiang Wen away. Jiang Wen's suggestion wasn't very tempting to Peng Zhan. If Meng Yao liked Jiang Wen, then Peng Zhan would be happy to see it happen, but the problem was that his daughter didn't like Jiang Wen at all. Marrying her to Jiang Wen was the same as harming her. Alright, Uncle Chu, think about it and call me anytime. Jiang Wen nodded and left Peng Zhan's office without another word. He understood that no matter what he said, he wouldn't be able to change Peng Zhan's mind so quickly. But Jiang Wen firmly believed that Peng Zhan would call him the moment he couldn't take it anymore. After all, this was Peng Zhan's only choice. It seemed like he had to think of a way to get House Yu to put more pressure on Peng Zhan. And that was the only way Peng Zhan would come to him when he had no other choice. See you out. Peng Zhan didn't like Jiang Wen taking advantage of others like this, but he couldn't say much about it. After all, Jiang Wen wasn't looking for trouble, and Peng Zhan was already very thankful. But what should he do now? Peng Zhan fell into deep thought, a little lost. Bad news came to Wan Er's ears one after another, but she couldn't do anything about it at all. Although she was powerful and the palace master of the Dark Night Palace, the Dark Night Palace was controlled by the Great Elder. Without the Great Elder's permission, no one could go down the mountain without permission. Palace Master Wan Er sat uneasily in the pavilion. At this moment she didn't have the heart to train. Her heart had already flown to Songshan City. If she could fly, she would definitely fly there. Palace Master, Elder Li is here again. Little Qing looked at the frowning Palace Master, and felt very uncomfortable in her heart. However, she was only a little lass. What right did she have to speak? Let him in. Didn't I say that Elder Li can come in directly? Wan Er heard that Elder Li had come again, and quickly ordered Little Qing. On this day she had already received several pieces of bad news. She had already asked Elder Li to keep an eye on the movements in Songshan City. Who knew if there would be any new news? I hope it's good news. Yes. Little Qing replied somewhat helplessly, but I have already let Elder Li directly come in. He was the one who asked me to inform the Palace Lord. Oh, then bring him in quickly. Palace Master Wan Er nodded. Greetings, Palace Master. Elder Li walked in under Little Qing's lead and bowed to the palace master. Uncle Li, didn't I tell you to come in directly? Palace Master Wan Er asked urgently. How is it over there? Miss, the rules can't be broken. I can't let people get hold of me anymore. Elder Li smiled bitterly. If I give up this little bit of power in the Dark Shadow Group, then I really won't be able to help you at all. Alright, I understand. Uncle Li, you're making me anxious. How are Peng Zhan and Yao Ya? Palace Master Wan Er smiled bitterly. It's still bad news. House Yu went to find them too. Elder Li sighed and shook his head. House Yu? Why did they go too? Palace Master Wan Er was shocked. How did Peng Zhan offend House Yu? It's not him, young master actually didn't offend House Yu. Elder Li said. It's Yu Kuan from House Yu. He broke into Mrs. Villa at night and injured Mrs. Pet Dog, General Wei Wu. Miss was furious and asked Lin Yi to kill Yu Kuan. But because of Li Fu, Lin Yi let Yu Kuan go. But Yu Kuan was now a cripple, and so House Yu used this as an excuse to take revenge on you. Why did House Yu break into Yao Yao's villa? What do they want? Palace Master Wan Er was really angry. It's just a common world, House Yu, how dare they touch my daughter? If Grand Elder agrees and recognizes Miss, then House Yu won't dare to touch her. Elder Li smiled bitterly. Even the hidden house behind House Yu would have to think twice, not to mention House Yu. Yeah. Palace Master Wan Er sighed. My poor daughter. House Yu went to Lin Yi because Lin Yi has a few pieces of the map of Sky-class Island. Elder Li said. Him? He has pieces of the map? Palace Master Wan Er was surprised, but she shook her head. Let's not care about him. What did House Yu say? What do they want? House Yu proposed to let Miss marry them as a concubine, and let young master's company be part of the dowry. Elder Li sighed. What? Palace Master Wan Er stood up, shocked and angry. How can they be so shameless? How dare they? If Miss came, they wouldn't dare. Even if I came, House Yu wouldn't dare. But I can't leave the mountain. Elder Li said helplessly. The Dark Shadow Group is in charge of gathering information. There are no masters in it. No. I'll go beg Grand Elder. I can't let anything happen to him and Yao Yao. If something happens to them, what's the point of living? Palace Master Wan Er couldn't sit still anymore. If it was really like what Elder Li said, then House Chu was finished. Her daughter's life was finished. She couldn't let her daughter's life become a tragedy. She definitely couldn't. Sigh. Elder Li sighed. I'll go with Miss. Palace Master Wan Er and Elder Li walked quickly to Grand Elder's training area. As soon as they entered, Palace Master Wan Er said seriously, Grand Elder, Wan Er wants to leave the mountain. Leave the mountain? Have you broken through Sky Class? Grand Elder asked faintly, not caring about Palace Master Wan Er's anxious expression at all. No. That's why Wan Er asked Grand Elder to let me leave the mountain. If Wan Er breaks through Sky Class, then I can leave the mountain whenever I want. Palace Master Wan Er said. Chapter 937. Begging and rejecting. I beg of you. Grand Elder, I'm begging you, let me go. Wan Er didn't expect the Grand Elder to be so resolute. She couldn't help but kneel on the ground. Grand Elder, Wan Er's husband's family is in trouble. I can't just leave them be. Get up. You're the palace master of the Dark Palace, kneeling just like that, what's wrong with that? The Grand Elder saw how weak Wan Er was and couldn't help but be furious. Why are you so different from your grandmother when she was young? If you want to leave, then show your strength. What can you achieve by crying? Kneeling in front of the enemy, do you think he'll let you go? But Grand Elder, you're not the enemy. Please let me go. I can't lose Peng Zhan and Ya. Wan Er was still kneeling on the ground, begging. I said no, so no. The Grand Elder smiled coldly. Don't even think about it. They're in trouble, it's better if they die. Lest the Sky Elixir sect laugh at us if that bastard lives. Grand Elder, no matter what, Peng Zhan is my husband, and Yao Yao is my daughter. Wan Er couldn't help but cry. I can't just ignore them. Humph, husband my ass. Your husband is the second young master of the Sky Elixir sect. He's the one who gave the betrothal gifts. The Grand Elder said coldly. Look at that Peng Zhan, he can't even handle a couple of clowns, he's a complete wimp. What's there to love about someone like that? Now do you see how correct and wise my eyes are? What's the use of a wimp like that? He should just die. Although the Dark Shadow Group was in the hands of Elder Li, the other people in charge of the Dark Shadow Group were also people from the Supreme Elder's side. Therefore, the news from the Dark Shadow Group could be received by the Supreme Elder immediately. Wan Er's grandmother had entrusted the Dark Night Palace to the Great Elder before she passed away. She had devoted her entire life to making the Dark Night Palace flourish. But she had never expected that the Dark Night Palace, which was connected by marriage with the Heavenly Elixir sect, would have such a scandal like Wan Er running away. Their relationship with the Heavenly Elixir sect became tense, and overnight, the Dark Night Palace became the laughingstock of the martial arts world. The Great Elder was annoyed by Wan Er's disobedience. Although he was harsh and unreasonable to her, he never thought about replacing her as the palace master. He only wanted to help her break through to sky rank. From this, it could be seen that the Grand Elder was selfless. It was just that she placed the interests of the Palace of Darkness on a level that was even more important than her own life. As for the Palace of Darkness, there was no such organization as the Dark Shadow Group before. It was only after Wan Er ran away from the marriage that the Great Elder and Elder Li formed the Dark Shadow Group to search for Wan Er. This was also the reason why the Palace of Darkness found Wan Er after she got married and had a daughter in the mortal world. If the Great Elder doesn't agree, Wan Er will kneel here forever. The Palace Master Wan Er brought out the stubbornness she had when she ran away from the marriage. Oh, do whatever you want. Once you kneel until your lover and little bastard die, you'll get up naturally. The Grand Elder said nonchalantly. Grand Elder, let me say something. Elder Li spoke up. Grand Elder, if something really happens to Pingzhan and Meng Yao, then I believe the Palace Master won't be in the mood to train anymore. It'll affect her training speed and even affect the Sky Rank meeting, our Palace of Darkness ranking. Once they die, she'll naturally stop. She hasn't made any progress after all these years. Isn't it because she still hasn't satisfied her lust? The Grand Elder said coldly. I want to go down the mountain. Uncle Li, you come with me. The Palace Master Wan Er heard the Grand Elder's unwavering words and stood up suddenly. Man. Elder Li paused and sighed bitterly, feeling a bit helpless. Miss, even if you want to go down the mountain, you should go back and plan with me first. Going down like this, is that even possible? As expected, the Grand Elder looked at the Palace Master Wan Er as if she was a joke. Go down? Elder Li, you're not going to be stupid with her, are you? Elder Li smiled bitterly. I'll send the Palace Master back now. She's just a bit emotional, I'll talk to her. No need. The Grand Elder waved his hand. Men, capture the Palace Master and keep an eye on her until I say to let her out. Yes. When the highest elder finished speaking, two women dressed in the same manner as Elder Li walked over. One on the left and the other on the right. They held Wan Er. Palace Master, please excuse us. These two were the same as Elder Li, elders of the Dark Palace, but their skills were on par with Wan Er's. It was easy for the two of them to grab one. The Palace Master Wan Er smiled bitterly and looked at Elder Li. She fainted in grief. She knew that she couldn't leave, and she regretted her impulsiveness. But, even if she didn't say anything, would she be able to go down the mountain? He was afraid that the Grand Elder would find out about it before he could even make it to the bottom. Elder Li sighed. He felt that he had to do something. He knew the Miss Personality very well. She looked weak, but she was actually very strong. Otherwise, he wouldn't have suddenly run away from the wedding without any warning and caught everyone off guard. If something really happened to Pingzhan and Meng Yao, then the Miss wouldn't be able to live. A dog that barks doesn't bite, but a dog that bites knows how to bark. It was a crude phrase, but it made sense. The Miss was like that. Elder Li, I'll be leaving first. Elder Li said and turned to leave. Elder Li, you've watched Wan Er grow up. Go and accompany her, talk to her. The Grand Elder sighed. She was afraid that Wan Er would do something extremely stupid and catch everyone off guard, so she asked Elder Li to watch over her. On the other hand, the Grand Elder was also afraid that Elder Li would make some private decisions and arrange things on his own. Okay. Elder Li naturally understood the Grand Elder's meaning, and nodded his head helplessly. From the looks of it, he couldn't do anything even if he wanted to. With the other two elders watching, Elderly really didn't have the chance to do anything. Son-in-law, little miss, I hope you can safely get through this calamity. Linny, I have high hopes for you. I've always treated your appearance as an opportunity for the Miss and Miss to meet. Although I haven't figured out your background yet, it doesn't stop me from having a premonition. Chapter 938. Chapter 937. Old Chu's attitude tonight was the day Linny left, but it was already very late. Pengzhan didn't go home, but sat in the chairman's office in Pengzhan skyscraper. Smoking. Pengzhan didn't go to see Linny off, because he didn't want to tell Linny about what happened in the company and put the pressure on Linny. This pressure should be shouldered by himself, not Linny. Pengzhan wasn't a heavy smoker, but the cigarette butts in the ashtray on the desk had already piled up into a small hill. Some of the butts had even fallen onto the desk, and the ash was everywhere. But Pengzhan didn't have the mood to clean up the cigarette butts and ash. His mind was completely focused on Pengzhan Industries and Yao Yao's future. He could give up on Pengzhan Industries, but he couldn't give up on his beloved daughter. Pengzhan was a person who valued relationships, and he was the polar opposite of those who valued their career. Some people could sacrifice their children's happiness for their career, forcing them to marry someone they didn't like. But Pengzhan, for the sake of his children's happiness, was willing to give up on everyone. Pengzhan felt like he was going to die. If some things could be solved with death, then he would rather die. But not now. He couldn't die. Even if he died, he couldn't change Mingyao's fate. From Xiao family's words, he could hear some leeway, and Zhao Qibing's request was the most reasonable one. It wasn't an exorbitant demand, but it was still within an acceptable range for Pengzhan. But House Yu's request was a little overboard. Not only did they take away the company's shares, but they also wanted Yao Yao to be a concubine of House Yu. If Meng Yao was willing to be someone else's concubine, then Pengzhan would let it go. But the situation now was that Yao Yao couldn't marry into House Yu. Pengzhan knew his daughter's personality too well, and if she was forced, she would rather die. Looking at the time, Linny should have left already, right? Pengzhan, in his helplessness, made his final decision. After hesitating for a while, he dialed his father's number. Pengzhan really didn't want his father to worry about him anymore. His father was retired, and he should be enjoying his life, but Pengzhan kept troubling him with company matters. This time, the Chu family had reached an extremely critical moment. If they didn't think of a solution, the Chu family might very well perish. If House Yu wanted Meng Yao to marry into their family, would Pengzhan have to put on a wedding dress for his daughter? Pengzhan, are you very distressed now? Old Master Chu picked up the phone and asked calmly. Father, you know what happened here? Pengzhan paused. I know a little. Although you are the chairman of the company, don't forget that I founded Pengzhan Industries. I have eyes and ears in the company, Old Master Chu said. Father, what should I do now? Pengzhan Industries is finished. The Xiao family, Zhao Qibing and House Yu are all here. In an instant, it seems like all the forces have gathered in Songshan, and all of them are coming for me. Pengzhan heard that his father knew what happened here, and he opened his heart and poured out his heart. I'm really powerless, I don't know what to do. Pengzhan Industries, if they want it, just give it to them. You might know a little, but when I was young I ran a company, but because of my lack of experience it went bankrupt. Old Master Chu smiled and consoled. And Pengzhan Industries is my second business. When I founded Pengzhan Industries, I was already as old as you are now. So, even if I fail this time, there's still a chance in the future. Father, I can give up on Pengzhan Industries, but I can't give up on Yao Yao's happiness. I can't let her marry into House Yu, it'll ruin her life. Pengzhan smiled bitterly. And you know Yao Yao's temperament, she'd rather die than marry into House Yu. Why does she have to marry into House Yu? Old Master Chu smiled. Didn't I tell you to marry her to Linny? Oh. Pengzhan froze and smiled bitterly. Linny's martial arts are all crippled, and he's going back to his hometown to find a way to recover his strength. I've tried to persuade him to stay, wanting him to be my son-in-law, using Pengzhan Industries as a dowry for Yao Yao to marry him, but he rejected. Pengzhan, your thinking was wrong from the start. Pengzhan Industries is nothing to Linny. So, you need to look further, don't worry about the benefits in front of you. Old Master Chu said. Did you forget what I told you before? It's us House Chu who's trying to get on Lin Yi's good side. He's not trying to take our property. I didn't forget, I remember that, so I've always been kind to Lin Yi, treating him as one of our own. Peng Zhan said humbly. Then what's the problem in front of you? Old Master Chu smiled. Peng Zhan didn't understand what his father meant. Keeping Lin Yi is more important than keeping the company. Old Master Chu said. You mean? Peng Zhan paused, understanding his father's meaning, but he wasn't too sure. Isn't Lin Yi going back to his hometown to seek refuge? You can just take Yao Yao with him. Old Master Chu smiled. If Lin Yi doesn't want to stay, you'll send Yao Yao to him. But Lin Yi has a girlfriend. Plus, his girlfriend is going back with him. It's not a good idea for Yao Yao and me to follow him, right? Peng Zhan felt like he was being a rascal. Who told you to follow him? Old Master Chu asked back. Don't tell him first, wait for him to leave. Then you and Yao Yao will follow him. He can't kick you out when you arrive, can he? Is that so? Peng Zhan said, but isn't that a little rascal? Besides, Lin Yi has a girlfriend. If Yao Yao goes like this, wouldn't she be the concubine? Although Peng Zhan could accept Tang Yun because of his daughter, and he made it clear in his conversation with Lin Yi, that was based on the situation where Lin Yi married Meng Yao. That way, his daughter would be the leader, and as for Tang Yun, as long as his daughter didn't say anything, Peng Zhan naturally wouldn't say anything. But now, following Lin Yi back, wouldn't that be weaker than Tang Yun? Then do you want Yao Yao to be a concubine for House Yu or a concubine for Lin Yi? Old Master Chu asked. Chapter 939. All good things must come to an end, but remember you have to be discreet when you leave, and you have to leave before Xiao family, House Yu and Zhao Qibin find you. Once they find you, you won't be able to leave even if you want to. Old Chu reminded. I understand, father. Peng Zhan nodded. Lil Yi should have left already. I'll go pack up and follow him with Yao tonight. House Chu's villa. Lin Yi didn't have much luggage, only a small bag with a few sets of clothes the miss gave him, as well as the Wanyankin box he got from the auction, and the 2 pieces of map that he didn't know what they were for. These 2 days Lin Yi tried his best to avoid seeing Meng Yao and Yushu. He wasn't a plant or a tree. He couldn't be emotionless. Lin Yi had feelings for the miss and Shu. Or rather, it was more or less the same as Tang Yun. After all, the daily interactions had made Lin Yi fall in love with these 2 girls. One was cold on the outside but warm on the inside, and the other was dumb on the outside but not dumb on the inside. But no matter if Lin Yi wanted to face it or not, the day of parting had finally come. In the living room, Meng Yao and Yushu watched Lin Yi pack up his luggage. They sat on the sofa quietly, a little sad. Ayo sis, is Shield Bro really leaving? Yushu's eyes reddened again. Her tone this time was different from usual. There wasn't the playful tone anymore, it was a little depressed. Yes, he's leaving. Meng Yao nodded. So it's true. This day has really come. Yushu sighed. Yeah, it's true. Meng Yao nodded again. Yao Yao sis, I want to go with him. Yushu said suddenly. What are you talking about? How can you go with him? Meng Yao shook her head with a smile. We're about to take the college entrance exam. Are we not going to take it? Aren't we going to school? Oh. Yushu nodded. Let's go, we'll go see if Lin Yi needs any help. Meng Yao stood up and walked towards Lin Yi's bedroom. Meng Yao used to hate this bedroom. Whenever Lin Yi was there, she would avoid it. She didn't know when it started, but this feeling had changed. She had gotten used to Lin Yi's existence, and this room was Lin Yi's. Meng Yao had already treated Lin Yi as a part of the villa, and was used to the happiness she felt when Lin Yi was around. Lin Yi, do you need our help? Meng Yao asked as she stood at the door, staring at Lin Yi's back. Lin Yi smiled. It's fine. I don't have much luggage. I only have the clothes you gave me. I'll take them with me. Meng Yao felt a lump in her throat. She wanted to cry. Lin Yi didn't forget to take the clothes she gave him. Meng Yao was touched. Will you think of me and Shu? Meng Yao asked. Of course. Lin Yi nodded. It'll be a beautiful memory. I'll cherish it for the rest of my life. Me too. Meng Yao mustered up her courage and whispered. Me too. Yushu said. Shield bro, you can't forget me. I can't forget you even if I forget Yao Yao. Linny smiled. Humph. The miss didn't know whether to laugh or cry at Lin Yi's words. All right, I'm leaving, Linny said as he picked up his luggage from the bed, turned around and walked towards the door. However, the miss and Yushu stood at the door. They didn't move away from Lin Yi. All good things must come to an end, right? Linny smiled. My duty is over. Don't be so unprepared when the new bodyguard comes. It's easy for me to go upstairs. Just be careful of him stealing the miss. You jerk. Meng Yao blushed. She glared at Lin Yi. She wanted to say, why don't you come up then? But she couldn't say it. This wasn't a joke. How could she laugh when Lin Yi was leaving? Haha, take care of yourself. General Weiwu can be trusted. It's very powerful. It can handle normal enemies. Lin Yi nodded to the Mississippi and Meng Yao knew that Lin Yi was telling the truth. She couldn't block the door and stop Lin Yi from leaving. She pulled Shu to the side, but her heart was sad. Lin Yi put on his backpack and walked out of his room, but paused for a second as he walked to the villa's entrance. He felt sad. This was the mission that he missed the most, but it was also the mission that he failed the most. Shield bro. Yushu called Lin Yi suddenly. And Lin Yi turned around and looked at Yushu. What's wrong, Shu? Will you come back after you recover your strength? Back to the villa? Yushu asked. If I recover to a higher level than before, I will come back. Lin Yi nodded and said. But Lin Yi knew that it would be difficult. He said it to comfort Yushu. External martial arts were different from spiritual martial arts. Once external martial arts reached a certain level, there would be a bottleneck. This bottleneck was 100 times harder to break than the bottleneck of spiritual martial arts. If one wanted to practice external martial arts and reach a higher level than before, he would need to be at least mystic mid-phase. Yushu nodded. Then it's a deal. If you recover to a higher level than before, you have to stay in the villa forever with me and Yao Yao sis. It's a deal. Lin Yi nodded with a smile. I want a pinky promise. Yushu ran over and stuck out her pinky. Okay. Lin Yi helplessly made a pinky promise with Yushu and even stamped. Pinky promise for 100 years. Whoever changes will be General Weiwu. Yushu said. Lin Yi nodded. It was time for him to leave. Goodbye Songsan, goodbye Villa. Goodbye those people he was familiar with. Woof woof. General Weiwu seemed to feel the sad atmosphere and barked at Lin Yi. Ha, General Weiwu, protect Yao Yao and Shu. Lin Yi was very confident in this highly intelligent Golden Division dog. It had a high IQ and could probably understand his conversation with Yao Yao and Shu. Otherwise, it wouldn't have such a strong reaction when Lin Yi went out every day. Woof woof. General Weiwu quickly ran to Lin Yi and jumped into Lin Yi's arms. Chapter 940. Meridian Repair. A familiar energy flowed into Lin Yi's body rapidly. Just when the energy entered Lin Yi's body, Lin Yi's muscles contracted and his pores opened up, greedily absorbing the energy. Lin Yi's body was like a sponge that had lost its water. Once he entered the water, he started to absorb the energy crazily. This was his own energy. Lin Yi was too familiar with this feeling. At this moment, Lin Yi was like a drop of water falling into the embrace of the ocean. He couldn't help but moan in comfort. As the energy flowed into his body, Lin Yi's damaged meridians started to repair themselves rapidly. Lin Yi's eyes widened as he looked at General Weiwu with surprise and joy. General Weiwu seemed to be in pain, but it didn't run away. It was still lying in Lin Yi's arms. Sometimes one could walk all over the place only to find it effortlessly by chance. The energy in General Weiwu's body, wasn't it his own energy? Just when Lin Yi was troubled by the lack of energy in his body and couldn't repair his meridians, Lin Yi forgot that General Weiwu, strictly speaking, was his master's dog. General Weiwu's energy was his energy, so he could use it on himself without any problem. Don't disturb me. Lin Yi didn't have the time to explain to Meng Yao and Yushu anymore. He carried General Weiwu into his room and locked the door. Meng Yao and Yushu, on the other hand, were confused by Lin Yi's sudden action. Ayao sis, what's wrong with Shield bro? Yushu looked at the closed door and asked curiously. I don't know, Meng shook her head. She was puzzled as well. What was Lin Yi doing? They were about to leave, but he suddenly carried General Wei Wu into his room. What was he trying to do? Did Shield Bro see General Wei Wu and can't bear to leave? Yao Yao, are you telling me that our relationship isn't as deep as General Wei Wu and Shield Bros? Yushu's tone suddenly turned bitter. Meng Yao didn't know how to answer because she really didn't know what Lin Yi was doing with General Wei Wu. But why did he close the door? Did he want to do something to General Wei Wu before he left? But that's not right, General Wei Wu is a male. Yushu asked curiously, oh? Is Shield Bro gay? Shu, what are you thinking? His thoughts are so complicated. Meng Yao glared at Yushu. The girl was getting more and more out of line. Do you want a beating? I don't. Yushu stuck her tongue out and shut her mouth. Since he doesn't want us to disturb him, then let's not disturb him. Meng Yao was panicking. General Wei Wu was much stronger than before, and she knew that Lin Yi had lost all his martial arts, so he was no different from an ordinary person. Meng Yao was afraid that General Wei Wu jumped on Lin Yi and used too much force when Lin Yi wasn't prepared, causing Lin Yi to be injured. That was why he couldn't wait to heal himself in his room. However, Meng Yao was afraid that Shu would be worried if she said it out loud. It was just a guess. What if it wasn't the truth? Lin Yi went back to his room and sat cross-legged on the bed. He closed his eyes and enjoyed the energy that came from General Wei Wu's body to nourish his injured meridians. On Lin Yi's face, there was an expression of comfort and pain. At this moment, Lin Yi was in pain and happiness at the same time. Lin Yi, who had become an ordinary person, couldn't stand the surging energy from General Wei Wu entering his body. However, when the energy entered his body and healed his meridians, Lin Yi felt extremely comfortable. Inside Lin Yi's body, the meridians were healing at a speed visible to the naked eye. Fu dash. Lin Yi took a deep breath. One of the main meridians in his body had healed itself under General Wei Wu's energy. Lin Yi's face showed an expression of relief. It was time, it was finally time. He didn't have to hide anymore. Lin Yi wasn't completely clueless about the things that happened in Songshan these 2 days. How could Lin Yi not know that all the major forces were looking for trouble with Chu Pengzhan at the same time? Fatty Lai was also a businessman. How could he not know? He just didn't know the details of the conditions. But what could Lin Yi do even if he knew? Lin Yi was still helpless. Other than finding a way to recover his strength, there was no other way. Of course, Lin Yi only thought that these forces were only after Chu Pengzhan's assets. Although he was depressed, he didn't say anything. After all, whatever they lost today, Lin Yi would definitely come back and make them pay with their own hands. Lin Yi just remembered that the energy he used to heal his meridians came from General Wei Wu. Lin Yi was shocked. He opened his eyes and looked at General Wei Wu, who was in his arms. He saw that General Wei Wu's face was filled with pain. Its already ugly face was twitching. It was terrifying. This energy originally belonged to Lin Yi. Lin Yi naturally knew how much energy was needed to heal a meridian. Now that all of it came from General Wei Wu's body, could it withstand it? With that thought, Lin Yi subconsciously wanted to put General Wei Wu down. But something strange happened again. General Wei Wu seemed to be glued to Lin Yi's body and couldn't let go at all. The energy in its body was still pouring into Lin Yi's body. Lin Yi's face froze. What was going on? Lin Yi suddenly remembered that when he was treating Xiao Xiao, a similar situation happened. The energy in his body suddenly leaked out uncontrollably. With that in mind, Lin Yi had a pretty good idea of what was going on. If he didn't seal some of the acupuncture points in the recipient's body, the energy in his body would be sent to the recipient uncontrollably. Didn't something similar happen when he was treating General Wei Wu? In order to avoid wasting energy, Lin Yi had to seal some of Buojia's acupoints with silver needles before treating him. However, that was based on the fact that he was using the art of dragon mastery. Only then would the energy be transferred from his body to the recipient. But General Wei Wu didn't know the art of dragon mastery. So how did he control the energy in his body? Could it be that it was only because it was a tall dog that he had modified so it resonated with his body, resulting in this effect? Chapter 941. Dog of the same master. General Wei Wu in front of him seemed to be getting weaker and weaker. In the end, he couldn't even open his eyes. However, there was nothing he could do. He could only watch as the energy from General Weiwu's body flowed into his body and continued to repair his damaged meridians. As time passed, Lin Yi could clearly feel that the energy inside General Weiwu's body was getting weaker and weaker. The energy that flowed into his body wasn't as strong as before. He wasn't sure if it was because the repair of his meridians increased his endurance or General Weiwu was really dying. General Weiwu, I hope you can hold on. Thank you for helping me get through this. Once I recover my strength, I will help you recover your strength too. The energy was getting weaker and weaker. Finally, there wasn't a single drop left. General Weiwu separated from Lin Yi's body and collapsed on Lin Yi's bed. He didn't know if he was dead or alive. Phew! Lin Yi could clearly feel the energy in his body. He recovered, he really recovered. Although the meridians in his body weren't completely healed, and even if they were healed, the energy stored in them was still very weak. But Lin Yi knew that he wasn't far from recovering his strength. This feeling was really comfortable. Lin Yi took a deep breath and hugged General Weiwu. He placed it in his arms and entered the space of the jade pendant. This way, once Lin Yi's meridians were all repaired, there would be extra energy. Then, when Lin Yi activated the art of dragon mastery, the energy would be continuously transferred to General Weiwu's body. This way, he could ensure that General Weiwu could be healed in the shortest time possible. Lin Yi was afraid that he wouldn't be able to heal General Weiwu in time after he fully recovered his strength. The advantage of this was that he could provide energy to General Weiwu first. After General Weiwu recovered his strength, he could recover his own strength. Jiao Lao, my meridians are repaired. As soon as Lin Yi entered the space of the jade pendant, he couldn't wait to enter the cultivation state and activate the art of dragon mastery. Jiao Yazi glanced at Lin Yi, but he didn't want to disturb him. It wouldn't be too late to talk about it after he finished cultivating. The energy in the space of the jade pendant was instantly mobilized by Lin Yi and surged madly into Lin Yi's body. However, the energy in the jade space was more than 100 times stronger than the energy that came from General Weiwu. Fortunately, Lin Yi's meridians were almost fully repaired. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to withstand such a terrifying surge of energy. A strange flush appeared on Lin Yi's face. This was a sign that his body was gradually recovering. Lin Yi could feel that all the injuries in his body seemed to have started the self-healing process at the same time. This was many times faster than using General Weiwu's energy to repair his meridians one by one. The energy in the space of the jade pendant seemed to be endless and inexhaustible. Lin Yi was like a person who just came back from the desert and desperately needed water. He greedily absorbed the energy in the space for his own use. As the endless energy surged into his body, Lin Yi's tightly shut eyes suddenly opened and joy appeared on his rosy cheeks. It was repaired, it was really repaired. Lin Yi could feel that all the injuries in his body were healed. His meridians could once again store energy like before. After the joy, Lin Yi didn't stop. He closed his eyes again and continued to use the art of dragon mastery. The energy in the space of the jade pendant continued to flow into Lin Yi's body. However, because Lin Yi's body was hugging General Weiwu who was about to die and Lin Yi was using the art of dragon mastery, the energy that flowed into Lin Yi's body didn't stay in Lin Yi's body. Instead, it stopped after the meridians were repaired and used Lin Yi's body as a medium. The energy was sucked into Lin Yi's body from the space of the jade pendant. After completing the conversion process, it flowed into General Weiwu's body. Therefore, Lin Yi could finally take a break from his busy schedule. The energy wasn't absorbed by Lin Yi, so Lin Yi could open his eyes and speak. Phew! Lin Yi let out a long breath. Ever since he was injured, he had never felt so good. Seeing that Lin Yi opened his eyes again, Jiao Yazi looked at Lin Yi strangely. Little Lin Yi, why didn't you continue your cultivation? No, you're still absorbing energy. No. But all the energy that I absorbed is given to General Weiwu first. It's just beside me. Lin Yi felt refreshed and his body was filled with the passion of battle. I didn't expect you to recover your strength in this situation. I was careless and forgot that you have a dog from the same sect. Jiao Yazi exclaimed, if I remembered it earlier, your meridians wouldn't have been repaired until now. Oh yeah, Jiao Lao, I want to ask, why can I use the energy in General Weiwu's body? Lin Yi asked curiously. But the energy in my body can only be released after I use the art of dragon mastery? Hehe, that's because you're different from that dog. Its strength comes entirely from you, not from itself. Zhao Yazi seemed to know that Lin Yi would ask this question. He laughed and said, so, it can only be called a yellow class inner chi master dog. Yellow class inner chi master dog? Lin Yi repeated this nondescript name and looked at Zhao Yazi confusedly. What does that mean? It's simple. It's the same as other golden class inner chi masters. It has the strength of a golden class inner chi master, but it doesn't know how to cultivate. It can't absorb energy by itself, and it can't level up by itself. To put it bluntly, it's a master that you created. It will be the same as you created it in the future. Zhao Yazi explained. As for why the energy in its body suddenly surged back into your body, that's even simpler. Because it was created by you, all the energy in its body comes from you. It's like you're placing your energy in its body. When you don't need it, it can borrow your energy to become a golden class dog. But when you need it, you can take it back at will. Chapter 942. Lin Yi was shocked. This was a passive skill. When he used it, both he and General Weiwu would be in a passive state and couldn't be controlled. But, isn't the energy in my body omnipotent? If my opponent is injured, will he absorb the energy in General Weiwu's body? Lin Yi suddenly thought of a scary possibility and asked, if this skill was passive, then when others needed energy would today's scene also happen? No. Zhao Yazi said something in English. Why not? Lin Yi didn't understand. The art of dragon mastery is actually an omnipotent chant for energy conversion. You can use this chant to absorb the energy in nature, and the space in the jade pendant into your body, and convert it into the form of pure energy that you need and store it in your body. Zhao Yazi explained, other people's kung fu is different from yours, so the type of pure energy they need is different too. The energy in your body is called omnipotent, because you can use the art of dragon mastery to convert it into any type of energy you need. That's why you can save injured people. But General Weiwu doesn't know the art of dragon mastery. The energy in its body will always be your own energy. Other than you, no one else can use it because it can't convert it. I see. Lin Yi suddenly understood the logic behind it. No wonder General Weiwu's energy didn't need to use the art of dragon mastery to convert it. It was because it was its own energy. General Weiwu didn't cultivate pure energy before, so whatever Lin Yi lost to it was what it was. But it was different for others. Lin Yi's pure energy couldn't be used without the art of dragon mastery. Luckily you held back, or else we'd be in trouble this time. Zhao Yazi sighed, but everything has its own destiny. It's good that you can get through this successfully. But with General Weiwu I have another trump card to protect my life. It seems like I can still use the true energy bomb. Lin Yi smiled coldly. With this trump card, he could fight against opponents who were a few levels higher than him. But it's better if you don't use it if you can. Zhao Yazi shook his head. Huh. Lin Yi was startled as if he was splashed with cold water. First, if it doesn't explode properly and explode into your heart or brain, you won't have to wait for the dog to get energy. You'll die immediately. Zhao Yazi said. Lin Yi nodded with a bitter smile. It was true that this chi bomb was very dangerous. It was the type of bomb that harmed others without benefiting himself. It was basically a sure kill attack that would take the enemy down with itself. Second, if you can't kill your opponent in one blow, he'll kill you. Zhao Yazi said, so, I advise you to increase your strength through cultivation. Don't use such unorthodox methods unless you have no other choice. I understand. Lin Yi nodded, you're right. Only by increasing your strength is true strength. It's fine to use these methods when you have no other choice, but if you keep using them, you'll be harming yourself and others. It's good that you've thought it through. Zhao Yazi smiled and nodded. General Weiwu, who was beside Lin Yi, was rapidly absorbing the energy from Lin Yi's body. It snuggled comfortably next to Lin Yi, enjoying the nourishment of the energy. Before this, General Weiwu's heart almost exploded from fear. It was just reluctant to leave Lin Yi and wanted to be close to Lin Yi for the last time. However, it didn't expect that once it touched Lin Yi's body, the energy in General Weiwu's body was uncontrollably absorbed by Lin Yi. Although General Weiwu didn't know what was going on, it was instinctively afraid. Previously, it obtained an unknown energy from Lin Yi which made it extremely strong. It could kill a person with one kick. Now that the energy returned to Lin Yi's body, how could it not be afraid? However, General Weiwu didn't think of struggling to escape. Although it was afraid, when it saw Lin Yi's inexplicably comfortable expression, it knew that what happened now was probably beneficial to Lin Yi. General Weiwu was a loyal dog. Its life was saved by Lin Yi and its strength was given by Lin Yi. Therefore, if Lin Yi wanted to take it back, he could take it back any time. General Weiwu was afraid, but it didn't complain. Therefore, General Weiwu persisted until the last bit of energy entered Lin Yi's body before it fainted. It didn't know if it could survive, but if Lin Yi could recover, he could protect Yao Yao and Shu. After some time, General Weiwu woke up again. What surprised it was that the familiar energy that could increase its strength was continuously flowing into its body from Lin Yi's body. This was similar to the first time he received the energy, but this time Lin Yi was lying down as if he was in a deep sleep. General Weiwu subconsciously thought that it absorbed the energy that entered Lin Yi's body. It wanted to jump away, but it realized that it couldn't. Its body seemed to be glued to Lin Yi's body. General Weiwu was shocked, but when it saw that Lin Yi's face was rosy and there was nothing wrong with him, it laid down quietly and accepted the energy that came from Lin Yi's body. After some time, General Weiwu started to feel uncomfortable because it could clearly feel that the energy in its body was almost full, but the energy that came from Lin Yi's body was still flowing into its body. Boom! General Weiwu was furious. It felt like it was going to explode from Lin Yi's energy. The next moment it fainted beside Lin Yi, not knowing what was going on anymore. This time Lin Yi, who was in the jade space, was shocked. He didn't know how much energy General Weiwu needed to recover, so he kept sending energy to it. As long as it could receive the energy, he would pour it in. In the end, he didn't control the amount and caused General Weiwu to explode. Chapter 943. Run together because General Weiwu leveled up. General Weiwu, who was a golden class early phase dog, leveled up several times. It became a golden class late phase peak dog. Lin Yi's eyes widened in shock. Seriously? Just because he lost all his strength, he became a golden class late phase peak dog when he infused his energy into General Weiwu's body again. It was even stronger than Ling Shan? Are you kidding me? I can just casually create a dog with the strength of the peak of the golden class. How can those masters of the golden class endure this? However, Lin Yi didn't have time to think about it. He entered the training space once he knew that General Weiwu was fine. He couldn't wait to recover his strength. Plus, General Weiwu could level up after going through the process, but what about Lin Yi? It seemed like every time he leveled up, he would be injured or his energy would be sucked dry. Once all the energy entered his body, he would be able to break through the bottleneck of the next level. Lin Yi had never heard of this method of leveling up, but it was effective for him and General Weiwu. Lin Yi entered the jade space and activated the art of dragon mastery again. The energy entered Lin Yi's body again, but this time it was all for Lin Yi's own use. Lin Yi could even feel the feeling of fullness when the energy filled up his meridians. It was extremely comfortable. When Pengzhan returned to the villa, he saw Mengyao and Yushu sitting on the sofa in the living room, spacing out. They weren't watching TV, nor were they doing anything else. They were just spacing out. Meishu. Pengzhan walked in. Did Lin Yi leave already? Pengzhan thought that Lin Yi had left the villa, and his daughter and Shu were a little sad. They were spacing out on the sofa. Daddy, you're back. Mengyao snapped out of her daze and looked up at Pengzhan. And Daddy's back. Pengzhan's heart ached as he looked at his tired daughter. He hadn't been able to give her a happy life. Although Mengyao didn't lack anything in terms of material goods, he still owed her too much in terms of kinship. The child had lost her mother since she was young, and Pengzhan had been busy with his career, so he didn't have time to take care of her. In the blink of an eye, she was already so big. Pengzhan never really understood what his daughter's life was like. And so this time Pengzhan had made up his mind. No matter what, he would help his daughter find her own happiness. He would accompany his daughter to escape with Lin Yi. Daddy, Lin Yi didn't leave. He's in his room. Meng Yao didn't know how to explain as she didn't know why Lin Yi didn't leave and went back to his room all of a sudden. Oh, little Yi didn't leave? Doesn't he have a train at 6 tonight? It's already 7. If he didn't leave, he wouldn't be able to catch the train. Peng Zhan paused as he looked at his watch. I don't know, this is what happened. Meng Yao told her father about the weird things that happened before Lin Yi left. Yeah, it's weird. Shield Bro and General Weiwu have been in the room for more than 4 hours, and they still haven't come out. I wonder what they're doing? Yushu added. Oh, what's little Yi doing? Could it be that his injuries are acting up? Peng Zhan frowned. Otherwise, with Lin Yi's personality, normal things wouldn't affect his schedule. Yeah, I'm worried too. Meng Yao nodded, her face showing an anxious expression. General Weiwu is very strong, but Lin Yi is a normal person now. I'm afraid that General Weiwu will kick Lin Yi hard like before. It might injure Lin Yi badly. I see. Peng Zhan's face turned serious after hearing Meng Yao's analysis. If that was the case, then it was hard to say. Otherwise, why would Lin Yi suddenly change his mind and run into the room in a hurry before leaving? Ah, will Shield Bro be in danger? Yushu panicked after hearing Meng Yao's words. Logically speaking, there shouldn't be any danger. Otherwise Lin Yi would definitely tell us to do something. Meng Yao shook her head. He only told us not to disturb him. Maybe he can heal himself. Then it seems like we can only wait for him here. Peng Zhan sighed. That's great, when little Yi wakes up, we can leave together. Leave together? Meng Yao was slightly taken aback as she looked at her father, not understanding. Yeah, Daddy has decided to bring you and little Yi back to his old home to seek refuge. Peng Zhan smiled. Return to his old home to seek refuge? Meng Yao was taken aback as she repeated, we're going back too? What about your company? You don't want it anymore? I don't want to go to school anymore? Yao, Daddy has already made up his mind, so I won't hide it from you anymore. Peng Zhan smiled bitterly. These few days, Daddy hasn't been having a good time either. Little Yi is injured, and after Daddy's enemies found out about it, they've come looking for me. Ah, Meng Yao was shocked. They got the news so quickly? What do they want from you? The first wave is from Yinjing's Xiao family. They're using the fact that you humiliated Xiao family's daughter-in-law, Go Huli, to ask me to give them 200 million as compensation, along with Peng Zhan Commercial Building and Peng Zhan Hotel. Peng Zhan smiled bitterly. He was going to leave anyway, and the company was about to be abandoned. There was no harm in telling Yao. Go Huli. I understand. Is it because of me? Meng Yao's face was filled with guilt after hearing her father's words. Daddy, it's all my fault, haha. It's not your fault. Xiao family is considered to be down and out among the noble houses, but a starving camel is still bigger than a horse. They wanted to come to Songshan and look for trouble. What happened to you was just an excuse. Why would Daddy blame you? Besides, little Yi said that it's not our fault. Peng Zhan smiled, not caring at all. Chapter 944. Tailor-made Meng Yao knew that it wasn't her and Shu's fault. This was just an excuse to make things difficult for the Xiao family. Without this excuse, perhaps the Xiao family could find other excuses. The second wave of people was Zhao Qibing's men. Peng Zhan smiled bitterly. My grudge with Zhao Qibing has been going on for a long time. He sent people to kidnap you many times and even tried to kill you and Shu at the theme park. Little Yi suppressed him, but now that little Yi is in trouble, he'll naturally retaliate. But his appetite isn't that big, and he only asked for the real estate company under Peng Zhan Industries. Meng Yao nodded. How come she didn't know about Zhao Qibing? This person had a huge grudge with her family, with Lin Yi. She wouldn't believe it if he didn't come looking for her now. The third wave of people was from Yanjing's Haosu. Peng Zhan continued. Haosu? Who are they? Meng Yao felt that the name was familiar, but she didn't know where she heard of this family. Haosu once broke into your villa and injured General Weiwu. Have you forgotten? Peng Zhan reminded. At that time you were agitated and asked little Yi to kill the murderer, but little Yi showed mercy and let him live. Then why didn't he thank Lin Yi? Why did he come looking for trouble? Mingyao was reminded of Yukuan when her father reminded her. Yukuan's arrogant expression was still vivid in her mind. Thinking about it made Mingyao feel uncomfortable. What's the point of reasoning with them? Pengzhan sighed and shook his head. House Yu's conditions are even more ridiculous this time. Not only do they want you to marry into House Yu's family, but they also want Yukuan, who was injured by little E, as a concubine, and all of Pengzhan Industries shares as dowry. Why? Mingyao stood up angrily. I'm not marrying into their family. Yeah, that's why we can't fight them, but we can hide from them. Pengzhan smiled. That's why I'm going to escape with you and little E. Mingyao's heart skipped a beat when she heard her father's decision. Mingyao couldn't help but curse inwardly. Her family was being pressured to this extent. What was there for her to be happy about? They were going to flee for their lives. But Mingyao was still a little happy. How can they be so arrogant? Daddy, can't we call the police? Rationally, Mingyao told herself that she couldn't leave. After all, Pengzhan Industries was her father's blood, sweat, and tears. How could she just give it up like that? These noble houses, many of their ways of doing things are outside of the laws. It's useless even if we call the police. They're only planning a crime, they haven't actually carried it out. Pengzhan smiled bitterly. Plus, they might kill us to vent their anger if we anger them, and they might even use some illegal methods to rob us of our assets. Mingyao was startled. She didn't know how powerful these noble houses were, but from her father's words, she could roughly understand that even if these noble houses really did do something to her, they wouldn't be in any trouble. At most, they would have a scapegoat to take the blame. So we can only flee for our lives. We'll have to give our assets to them eventually, but are you going to marry into House Yu? Pengzhan asked. I don't want to. Mingyao shook her head. How could she marry into House Yu? That's right, so we'll wait for Lin Yi to come out, and then we'll leave Songshan together. We don't want anything here. Pengzhan was a man who did big things. He left decisively, not even touching the company's money. He didn't want to alert his enemies, and they wouldn't be able to escape. This way, no one would think that Pengzhan would leave Songshan with Mingyao without taking a single cent with him. All right. Mingyao nodded, pleased with herself. Oh, bring me, I want to go too. Yushu didn't want to do it. Yao Yao was leaving with Shield Bro. What was the point of her staying here alone? Okay, I'll bring you. Mingyao didn't want to be separated from Shu, so she nodded and agreed. Pengzhan looked at Yushu wanting to say something, but didn't say anything in the end. It was her own choice and he couldn't interfere. Thinking of his father's words, Pengzhan understood. It was House Chu who'd climbed up to Lin Yi, not Lin Yi who'd climbed up to House Chu. Jiang Wen waited for a whole day and didn't get any calls from Pengzhan. He couldn't help but start panicking, cursing in his heart. What were Pengzhan's enemies doing? Hurry up and continue pressuring Pengzhan. If you don't pressure him and he doesn't get nervous, how can he ask for my help? Jiang Wen couldn't take it anymore. So he secretly sent a message to House Yu Shuaixing, saying that Pengzhan was escaping and was secretly moving his assets. He asked him to go check it out. The reason why he didn't send the message to Xiao family and Zhao Qibing was because they only asked for money and assets from Pengzhan. They hadn't touched Pengzhan's bottom line yet. Pengzhan would only think of resisting if someone wanted to touch Mengya. This was just a random excuse Jiang Wen came up with, and the goal was for House Yu to pressure Pengzhan. But Jiang Wen didn't think that he'd be able to hit the nail on the head with his random words. Although Pengzhan didn't move his assets, he was really planning to escape. In this critical period, House Yu would rather believe it than not. They were afraid that Pengzhan would run away with the assets, and it would be troublesome to find him. This was a big country, and he might even escape to a foreign country, making it even harder to find him. And so, House Yu decided to go to Pengzhan first thing in the morning. If Pengzhan didn't agree, they'd just rob him. Under the situation where House Chu didn't have any masters, wouldn't they be at their mercy? They'd just make him sign a share transfer agreement and bring Mingyao back to Yanjing's House Yu, and this trip would be worth it. What made House Yu feel regretful was that the power behind Lin Yi didn't show up these 2 days. Could it be that Lin Yi didn't have any power behind him, and everything was just House Yu's guess? But this was even better. House Yu could deal with House Chu with even more impunity. After dealing with House Chu, Lin Yi's death was the only thing that awaited him. Lin Yi was just a normal person, and killing him would be a piece of cake. With that thought, Yu Bai couldn't wait to kill Lin Yi to avenge his son. Chapter 945. He must stay. Third uncle, why don't the hidden power behind Lin Yi come out when House Chu's in this state? Are they giving up on Peng Zhan? Yu Haitian asked Yu Bai, confused. This I'm not too sure. My analysis is that Lin Yi doesn't have any background at all, so I suggest that we go to Peng Zhan's house later and kill Lin Yi. Yu Bai hated Lin Yi to the bone. He came here to avenge his son, but for the benefit of the house, he didn't dare to do it directly. But now Peng Zhan was forced into a corner, and the power behind Lin Yi hadn't come out yet. This proved that Lin Yi didn't have any power behind him. Killing Lin Yi is naturally good, but Lin Yi and Guan Shuamin's relationship seems to be quite good. If we kill Lin Yi, it means we're not giving Guan Shuamin face. That's not good, is it? After all, Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company is in the limelight, and they've released many miraculous medicines. They'll be the target of the noble houses in the future. Yu Haitian analyzed, it doesn't matter how we step on House Chu, but when it comes to Lin Yi, it's better to be careful. So what if he's close to Guan Shuamin? Guan Shuamin didn't stand out to protect him. We can completely ignore this relationship. Yu Bai smiled coldly, when the time comes we'll kill him. Guan Shuamin won't be able to say anything. He won't cause trouble for House Yu, will he? I think it's better to discuss this with second uncle. Yu Haitian said carefully. All right, I'll call second brother now and ask for his opinion. Yu Bai nodded. He could ignore Yu Haitian's suggestion, but he had to listen to his second brother's suggestion. His second brother was very rational, and he considered things from a comprehensive perspective. Yu Bai dialed Shuixing's number and told him what had happened, telling him that he was going to House Chu tomorrow morning to kill Lin Yi while he was at it. No. Shuixing shook his head after hearing Bai's words. Third brother, we shouldn't make a move against Lin Yi right now. Why? Yu Bai was stunned and asked, if there is a force behind Lin Yi, why haven't they jumped out yet? Bai, you haven't thought things through thoroughly enough. Shuixing said, it looks like Lin Yi has an unusual relationship with the Chu family on the surface, but that's just a personal relationship between Lin Yi and the Chu family. It doesn't mean that the power behind Lin Yi will help the Chu family. If Lin Yi only came out to gain experience, then he should be going back soon, and the Chu family might have been abandoned. Oh. Yu Bai paused, that makes sense, I was too reckless. Man, this Lin Yi, it's annoying just looking at him. Haha, there's no rush. If Lin Yi really doesn't have any power behind him, then he'll become a ghost under your hands sooner or later. But if he does, then we'll let him be for now. We'll make a decision after we investigate his background, Shuixing said. All right, I'll stomp House Chu to death first, Yu Bai said hatefully, putting all his anger on House Chu. Since he couldn't kill Lin Yi, then House Chu would be his punching bag. And that dog that caused his son's death, he'd kill it too. House Chu's villa. Chu Pengzhan looked at the clock in the living room anxiously. It was already 5 in the morning, and there was still no news from Lin Yi's room. He couldn't help but panic. Today was the deadline that Xiao family, Zhao Qibing and House Yu gave him. If Lin Yi didn't leave by this deadline, then he wouldn't be able to leave. House Xiao and House Yu were still manageable, but if House Yu came, Meng Yao wouldn't be able to leave, would she? Daddy, what's wrong? Why do you look so anxious? Meng Yao asked curiously as she looked at Pengzhan, who kept looking at the time. Today is the day that Xiao family, House Yu and Zhao Qibing agreed to meet. I'm afraid that they'll come after daybreak, and then we won't be able to leave. Pengzhan sighed, but he didn't hide it. At a time like this, he had to let Meng Yao be mentally prepared. Yao Yao, why don't you leave with Shu first? I'll stay here and Lily can guard here? Pengzhan said helplessly. Could it be that this was fate? Lily was fine before, but something happened just before he left. However, Pengzhan didn't hate Lin Yi. He knew very well what would happen if he let his daughter leave first. House Yu might vent their anger on him and kill him directly. But how could Pengzhan watch his daughter be taken away by House Yu? If his daughter was taken to house you as a concubine, she might commit suicide because of the humiliation. If his daughter died, how could he live alone? How would he have the face to see Wan again? Was he a qualified father if he couldn't even protect his own daughter? So, Pengzhan would rather sacrifice himself than let anything happen to his daughter. No, I'm not leaving. Mengyao shook her head. Yao Yao, listen to me, don't be stubborn. If you don't leave, Haoxiu will take you away forcefully. Daddy won't be able to do anything then. Pengzhan frowned and said seriously, if Lil Yi sees this, he won't be able to do anything about it. But do you know what will happen if he stands out forcefully? You'll be harming Lil. No. Mengyao shook her head. Daddy, you're right. But think about it, if Haoxiu comes and they don't see me, who else will they vent their anger on other than you? You know, although I ordered Yu Kuan to be killed, the one who did it was Lin Yi. If Haoxiu doesn't see me, will they let you and Lin Yi go so easily? Pengzhan had been thinking about himself and wanted to end this grudge with his own death, but after hearing his daughter's words, he suddenly remembered that Lin Yi was the one who injured Yu Kuan. If that was the case, Haoxiu wouldn't be able to see Yao Yao, and they wouldn't let Lin Yi go. Chapter 946. Give me 10 billion. Okay. Pengzhan nodded in agreement after seeing his daughter's determination. He understood his daughter's personality. She wouldn't change her mind once she made up her mind. But Shu, she's innocent. Shu, why don't you go back to your villa? No, if Yao Yao sis and Shield Bro die, then there's no point in me living. Yushu shook her head. Alright, you stay here then. Pengzhan thought that even if Yushu stayed here, Haoxiu wouldn't dare to touch her. Yushu was from House Chun. Although House Chun had fallen, with Elder Chun retiring and Chun Yutian not doing much, House Chun was still an old noble house with influence in the military. As long as Haoxiu didn't want to fall out with them, they wouldn't dare to offend House Chun at this time. Time passed and it was 6:30 in the morning. There was still no news from Lin Yi's room. Pengzhan couldn't take it anymore. He walked over and wanted to knock on the door, but he hesitated and put his ear on Lin Yi's door, trying to listen for any movement inside. But, to Pengzhan's disappointment, there was no movement from Lin Yi's room. Was Lin Yi healing himself? Pengzhan didn't know, but he was sure that Lin Yi had something he hadn't finished yet, and it was something extremely important. Otherwise, he wouldn't have stayed in his room for so long, not only not coming out, but also without any news. It seemed that Lin Yi didn't have the time to explain. He rushed into the room, and the only thing he left was, "Don't disturb him." So Pengzhan hesitated and didn't knock on the door. He returned to the sofa and sat down, waiting for Lin Yi to come out on his own, but something unexpected happened. Bang! The door of the villa was kicked open by a huge force. Pengzhan, Mengyao and Yushu, who were sitting on the sofa, jumped in fright. Pengzhan's heart tightened. What was supposed to happen had finally happened. He didn't know who came first, but it had to be Xiao family, Zhao Qibing or Haoxiu. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been so arrogant as to barge in without even knocking. Pengzhan had been prepared for this to happen, but he still felt that it was a little too early. It wasn't even 7 in the morning, and the enemy was already so impatient? What a bunch of greedy and impatient people. Pengzhan, you've got guts, haven't you? I heard that you wanted to escape with your daughter? You really didn't go to the company and hid at your daughter's place. Yu Haitian sneered and said sarcastically, however, can the Monkey King escape from Buddha's Five-Finger Mountain? Yu Haitian and Yu Bide went to Pengzhan's place first. Their hearts skipped a beat when they realized that Pengzhan wasn't there. Did he really escape? They rushed to Mingyao's place and saw that Pengzhan's car was parked in front of the villa. Haitian and Yu Bide were even more certain that Pengzhan was planning to escape with his daughter. Otherwise, why would he come to Mengyao's place instead of waiting for them at the company in the morning? Pengzhan's heart sank when he heard Haitian's voice. He didn't expect that the first to come would be the most troublesome Haoxiu. If it were Xiao family or Zhao Qibing's men, it would be easy to deal with them. As long as he gave them the property they wanted, there wouldn't be a problem. But Haoxiu didn't just want the property. They also wanted their daughter. If I wanted to escape, would I be sitting here waiting for you? Although Pengzhan was panicking, he forced himself to be calm. If you wanted to leave, wouldn't you have left a long time ago? Humph, cut the bullshit. What do you think of my condition? Ubaid interrupted Pengzhan and asked directly. I can give all the shares to House Yu for free, but I hope that House Yu can let my daughter go. Pengzhan knew that he couldn't leave, so he made his last struggle. Let her go? What a joke. Ubaid humphed coldly. When your daughter let that bastard Linny kill my son, why didn't she think of letting him go? Didn't Lily open one side of the net to save your son's life? Pengzhan said, neither servile nor overbearing. Yeah, because my son didn't die. I let your daughter serve him as a concubine. I let her go too, otherwise I would have killed your daughter and let her marry my son. Ubaid glared at Pengzhan and said angrily, Mr. Yu, speaking of this, it was your son who barged into my daughter's villa without permission. Pengzhan argued. This was the last moment, and he knew that reasoning with House Yu wouldn't work, but he had to fight for it. If House Yu really took Mengyao away, then House Chu would be finished. What? You're saying that House Yu is at fault? You're saying that my son asked for it? Is that what you're saying? Do you dare to say that again? Ubaid's face instantly revealed a sinister expression. I didn't say that. I just hope that you can let my daughter go, Mr. Yu. Mengyao sighed and said, if you're willing to let my daughter go, I'll agree to whatever you ask for. All right, give House Yu 10 billion and I'll let your daughter go. How's that? Fair, right? I'll buy my life with money. Ubaid laughed. Pengzhan's face turned red. House Yu's conditions were unreasonable. 10 billion, where was he going to get 10 billion for him? Wasn't he purposely making things difficult for him? What's wrong, Mr. Chu, you don't want to buy your life with money? Ubaid sneered. If that's the case, then don't say that I didn't give you a chance. Phew. Pengzhan took in a deep breath and tried to calm himself down. He couldn't get angry. Pengzhan reminded himself that this wasn't the time to go against House Yu. He had to hold it in, Mr. Yu, 10 billion, aren't you forcing me? Pengzhan asked in a low voice. What, Pengzhan, do you think your daughter isn't worth 10 billion? Ubaid asked. Chapter 947. Recovery. Breakthrough. Don't blame me for not giving you a chance if you can't, Ubaid said coldly. Which one of them is your daughter? Are they pretty? They're perfect as my son's concubine. Mr. Yu, please leave some leeway when you do things, don't push things too far. There's a saying that things will go in the opposite direction when pushed to the extreme. I wonder if you've heard of it? Pengzhan had no other choice but to threaten him. Oh. Ubaid looked at Pengzhan with interest and laughed. So, you're threatening me? I wouldn't dare. Pengzhan was furious, but there was nothing he could do. He could only compromise. I'm just saying something that hasn't changed since ancient times. Ha! Reasoning with me? Haitian, did you hear that? He's reasoning with me? Ha 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 ha. Ubaid laughed without restraint. He said to leave some leeway when I do things, don't push things too far. Did you hear that? Third uncle, I heard that. Haitian nodded with a smile. Do you think it's funny? Ubaid mocked. Funny, this is too funny. Haitian also laughed out loud. Humph. Ubaid changed the topic and looked at Pengzhan coldly. I don't leave any leeway when I do things. I'm going to push things too far. What can you do? What do you want? What do you want? Stare at me? Are you going to explode? Ha 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 ha. Ubaid looked at Pengzhan's helpless face and felt a sense of satisfaction, as if he had vented his anger. If it wasn't for Shuaisheng stopping him from killing Lin Yi, he would have killed Pengzhan first before going after Lin Yi. The pleasure brought by humiliating others made Ubaid feel great. Pengzhan's face turned purple. House Yu didn't listen to reason at all. There was no logic to speak of. Pengzhan's chest heaved up and down. He was so angry that he couldn't speak. In Lin Yi's room, in the jade pendant, Lin Yi's face couldn't help but show some anxiety. Although Lin Yi's body was in the jade pendant, his whole body was awake. Whatever happened outside, Lin Yi heard it clearly. Lin Yi also heard the conversation between Pengzhan and Mengyao in the living room. Pengzhan's words touched Lin Yi a lot, and the Miss and Shu following him touched him as well. Lin Yi didn't think that Pengzhan's situation had reached this point. The Xiao family and Zhao Qibing's men had come to his doorstep. even House Yu's men. Moreover, House Yu even wanted to take Miss away as a concubine. They really dared to dream. Although Miss wasn't Lin Yi's woman, Peng Zhan's attitude made Lin Yi feel that taking care of Miss was his responsibility. Even if he took 10,000 steps back, he was still Miss's bodyguard. How could he let House Chu take Miss away? Alright, since you guys are so arrogant, then each and every one of you will pay the price for your arrogance. However, Lin Yi was very anxious. His strength hadn't recovered yet, and Lin Yi really couldn't stand up for Miss right now. Hurry up a little more. Lin Yi was in the jade pendant space, absorbing the energy crazily. Hearing that House Yu was closing in, Lin Yi wanted to rush out right now, but Lin Yi knew that it wasn't enough yet. The moment he went out, it would be the death of these people. So, recovering his strength was very important. Lin Yi gritted his teeth. The energy in the jade pendant space surged into his body, and as Lin Yi's art of dragon mastery circulated faster and faster, the energy became stronger and stronger. Lin Yi's eyes opened abruptly. The energy in his body had reached its saturation state before his strength dropped. Finally recovered. His strength was finally back. However, Lin Yi didn't stop the circulation of the art of dragon mastery. Lin Yi knew that according to his past experience, every time he lost his strength, he could absorb some energy into his body after he recovered, and it was very likely that his strength would break through. But if he stopped and practiced again, there wouldn't be such an effect. So Lin Yi continued to absorb the energy in the jade pendant space because Lin Yi could clearly feel that although his body was saturated with energy, he could still absorb it. The energy around Lin Yi was getting more and more, and the energy around Lin Yi was fluctuating rapidly as Lin Yi absorbed more and more energy, forming a whirlpool around Lin Yi. On Lin Yi's face, an expression of extreme pain appeared. He felt that his body was about to explode, and the energy in his body was reaching its limit. If he didn't release it soon, he'd explode like a balloon. But Lin Yi didn't stop the circulation of the art of dragon mastery. Instead, he gritted his teeth and increased the speed of his cultivation. The energy around Lin Yi was mobilized again, and it quickly rushed into Lin Yi's body, and the energy in Lin Yi's body rose to a new height. As the energy in his body gathered more and more, Lin Yi's face showed a strange flush, and it looked a little strange through the energy whirlpool. Soon, really soon. Lin Yi snorted, "Let the storm come fiercer." Boom! With a loud bang, Lin Yi felt like his whole body was about to fly into the sky. Under the huge impact of the energy in his body, the barrier between levels collapsed at this moment. Instantly, more energy rushed into Lin Yi's body, but this time, it didn't feel like he was about to burst his limit, but instead, there was a very comfortable, nourishing feeling breakthrough. After the breakthrough, Lin Yi's meridians could absorb more energy. The energy whirlpool around Lin Yi was getting weaker and weaker, and most of it was absorbed by Lin Yi's body. Lin Yi's face turned from red to healthy, and Lin Yi jumped up from his bed. Was this the power of the middle phase of the mystic division? As expected, it was a world of difference from the peak of the early phase of the mystic division. No wonder it was so difficult for him to defeat a physical master who was at the peak of the middle phase of the mystic division. Sometimes the difference of one level was the difference between victory and defeat. Who? Lin Yi let out a breath and patted General Weiwu. "It's time, General Weiwu. This time we will be the main characters." Woof woof. General Weiwu, who was in a coma, seemed to feel the powerful and majestic aura from Lin Yi, and it woke up. It barked at Lin Yi happily. Chapter 948. Two choices, double payback. Although it was only one level, Lin Yi was already satisfied. One had to know that the higher the level, the harder it was to break through. Some people couldn't even take a step forward in their entire life. And Lin Yi wasn't even 20 years old, and he already had the strength of a mystic mid-phase. This was unimaginable among the noble houses and hidden houses. In the villa's living room, Peng Zhan looked at the tyrannical Yu Bide sadly. Although he knew that there was no way to reason with House Yu, anyone would want to try their luck. Now that it seemed like there was no other way, Peng Zhan could only smile bitterly. "Yu Bide, you've gone too far. The heavens are watching what you do." Sooner or later, this revenge will fall on your House Yu's head. Haha, I'll be waiting for that day. Let me see where the revenge is. Yu Bai didn't care about Peng Zhan's words at all. This world was a world where the strong lived. The weak were prey to the strong. This was an unchanging rule. He laughed and turned to Meng Yao and Yushu. Which one of you is Meng Yao? You can come with me now. Meng Yao took a deep breath and stood up slowly. Her eyes showed determination. I am. Good, then you can come with me now. Yu Bai nodded. He was quite satisfied with Yushu as well. He couldn't help but ask regretfully, who are you? She's from House Chun. If you dare to touch her, you can bring her back too. Meng Yao looked at Yu Bai mockingly and said faintly, House Chun. Yu Bai's expression froze. He suddenly remembered that the granddaughter of House Chun, Yushu, and Peng Zhan's daughter were good friends. Although House Chun had fallen, it was still one of the noble houses. Yu Bai didn't dare to provoke them. He laughed. House Chun and House Yu have no grudges. Why would I want to capture her? I want to capture you. If you're not afraid that I'll kill your son, then bring me back. Meng Yao raised her head and looked at Yu Bai as if she was facing death. Yes, Meng Yao was stalling for time. Just now, Shu secretly hinted to her to stall for time and wait for Shield Bro. Although Meng Yao didn't know why Yushu was so confident all of a sudden, she still did as she was told. Shu may be crazy, but Meng Yao had to admit that a lot of the words that came out of her mouth turned into reality. It was not an exaggeration to call her Prophet Shu. In fact, Yushu didn't know why she was so confident in Shield Bro. But the two barks reminded her of the day Lin Yi brought General Wei Wu to the room for treatment after he was injured. When General Wei Wu recovered and Lin Yi walked out of the room, Yushu also heard two excited barks from General Wei Wu. It was a happy barking just like today. How dare you? Yu Bai's face turned ugly after hearing Meng Yao's words. Do you believe that I'll kill your entire family right now? I don't believe you. A faint voice rang out. Although it was not loud, it was filled with confidence. It was Lin Yi. Meng Yao turned her head in disbelief, and saw Lin Yi walk out of the room. A faint smile on his face that made her want to beat him up. At his feet was General Wei Wu, full of vigor and vigor. Peng Zhan was shocked as well. He didn't think that Lin Yi would walk out of the room at this time, and to stand up for his daughter. Could he deal with House Yu? Peng Zhan was afraid that House Yu would harm Lin Yi in a fit of rage. Yushu, on the other hand, was very excited. She felt that her prophecy was successful again. Lin Yi? You still dare to come out? I thought you ran away. Yu Bai didn't put Lin Yi in his eyes at all. From his point of view, if he didn't look for trouble with Lin Yi would already be burning incense. How dare Lin Yi take the initiative to come out? Did he really think that House Yu wouldn't dare to kill him? House Yu, I heard that you want all of Uncle Chu's Peng Zhan Industries shares? Lin Yi ignored Yu Bai's sarcasm and asked indifferently. So what if I am? You have a problem with that? Yu Bai asked coldly. Oh, I have a part of Uncle Chu's shares. You didn't even ask me before you took it? Lin Yi's tone was still calm, but it was full of accusation. You still want to forcefully bring Yao to House Yu to be a concubine? Are you out of your mind? Lin Yi, do you want to die? Yu Bai's eyes burned with fire. He couldn't take it anymore. Although his second brother advised him not to act recklessly against Lin Yi at this moment, he only wanted to kill Lin Yi. Even if the power behind Lin Yi came out to punish him, it was Lin Yi's own fault for being a busybody. What did it have to do with him? You don't have to care whether I die or not. Lin Yi looked at Yu Bai with disdain. But I know that you are going to die soon. Now I'll give you two choices. The first choice is to give me all of House Yu's shares and some shares of other businesses. Then, I'll have two girls from House Yu come over to be my concubines. The second choice, you die. Huh. Yu Bai was amused by Lin Yi's words. He didn't think that Lin Yi would dare to say something like this. Who did he think he was? Even if he had other powers behind him, he was just a useless person. A useless person saying something like this, wasn't he tired of living? Oh, Shield Bro, you're awesome. I'm the concubine now, I can have a concubine to order around. Yushu shouted excitedly. Meng Yao couldn't help but smile as well. Lin Yi's conditions were basically giving back double of what House Yu had asked for. She didn't know where Lin Yi got his confidence from. Could it be that he recovered his strength? But when Mingyao saw the confident smile on Lin Yi's face, she felt relieved. It's over, it's finally over, isn't it? Everything will be fine. Peng Zhan was surprised as well. He wasn't stupid. He noticed that something was amiss. Lin Yi became stronger. Extremely stronger. Only the idiot Yu Bai didn't realize why Lin Yi became so strong. Hatred filled his mind. He smiled coldly. Aren't you afraid of losing your tongue? Give you House Yu's businesses? And 2? Are you dreaming? Let the girls from House Yu be your concubine? What are you thinking? Are you retarded? I'll give you 3 seconds to think about it. Lin Yi ignored Yu Bai's sarcasm. The countdown starts 3, 2. Chapter 949. Killed by a dog bang. Before Yu Bai could count to 2.6, he flew backward and spat out a mouthful of blood. He fell heavily from the broken door of the mansion and landed in the yard of the mansion. Everyone was shocked. Yu Haitian looked at Lin Yi in disbelief. Lin Yi sent Yu Bai flying with one palm? How was that possible? Didn't Lin Yi lose his strength? Wasn't he a cripple? Yu Bai's eyes were filled with shock and disbelief. Lin Yi's strength didn't disappear? How was that possible? Plus, he was an early-phase mystic class master and he couldn't even take one hit from Lin Yi. Lin Yi was only a peak early-phase mystic class master. Even if he was half a level higher than him, it shouldn't be this bad, right? I was too careless, I must have been too careless. Yu Bai felt sad. Fuck, he was tricked by this bastard Lin Yi. He didn't lose his strength at all, he was pretending to be weak. He confused me and attacked me when I wasn't paying attention. That's why I was heavily injured. Early-phase mystic class? House Yu doesn't have any masters. The son is useless and the father is useless. Lin Yi waved his hand, a hint of disdain on his face. Can you consider my conditions now? Die or give me 2 properties and 2 concubines from House Yu. Kill me if you have the guts. Yu Bai was pissed off by Lin Yi's words. Although Lin Yi was pretending to be weak, Yu Bai didn't think that Lin Yi would really kill him. He thought that Lin Yi wouldn't dare. General Weiwu, it was his son who almost killed you. Go get revenge on his father now. Lin Yi ordered General Weiwu calmly, go, kill him. Woof woof. General Weiwu wanted to test its strength. How could it let go of such a good opportunity to take revenge? She jumped up from Lin Yi's side and came to Yu Bai's side. Yu Bai gritted his teeth in anger. He didn't dare to kill Lin Yi. First, he wasn't sure of Lin Yi's background. Second, he wasn't a match for Lin Yi at all. He was very depressed, but at this moment Lin Yi actually sent a dog to disgust him. Yu Bai was instantly enraged and was ready to vent his anger on this dog. Since his son's injury was caused by this dog, he would use this dog's blood to avenge his son. Yu Bai believed that if he killed a dog, Lin Yi and the forces behind him wouldn't say anything. Therefore, Yu Bai had this mentality. When General Weiwu ran over, he suddenly raised his palm and slapped it. Although Yu Bai was heavily injured, he felt that he only needed a little bit of strength to kill a dog. However, just as Yu Bai slapped, General Weiwu also jumped up and kicked Yu Bai's palm with its hind legs. Pung! Yu Bai's body flew out once again, directly outside the mansion. Yu Bai's body landed heavily on the ground. He twitched a few times and then stopped moving. Therefore, an early-phase mystic class master died under the claws of General Weiwu, who was at the peak of the late phase of golden class. With General Weiwu's spiritual strength at the peak of the late phase of golden class, killing a severely injured early-phase mystic class master wasn't a problem. Third uncle. Yu Haitian didn't expect Lin Yi to attack just like that. He didn't leave any leeway and let a dog kill Yu Bai in the end. His face immediately revealed a look of fear and horror. Yu Haitian wasn't a martial artist and didn't know any martial arts. At this moment he was so scared that he didn't dare to say anything disrespectful to Lin Yi. He quickly ran out of the mansion and came to Yu Bai's side. He reached out his hand to feel Yu Bai's breath. Gone. Yu Bai was dead. Yu Haitian was even more scared. This Lin Yi even dared to kill Yu Bai, let alone Yu Haitian. Looking at Lin Yi who followed him out of the mansion, Yu Haitian turned pale. What are you doing? I'm just a follower. I came with third uncle. He's the one in charge. I know you're just a small fry. Linny said faintly. Go back and tell Yu Shuixing that he owes me 2 business shares and 2 concubines. I Linny always keep my words. Tell him to be prepared. But you already killed third uncle. Yu Haitian didn't expect that Linny would continue to bring up such terrifying conditions after killing Yu Bide. The dog killed him, not me. Linny said faintly. Plus, I'm talking about killing your entire family. Not just him. All right, I'll bring these words to him. Yu Haitian nodded sorrowfully. Before, they were the stronger side. But in the blink of an eye, he had to run away with his uncle's corpse. Oh, then why are you still standing here? You can leave now. Don't delay me from dealing with the Xiao family. Linny waved his hand impatiently. Yu Haitian clenched his teeth and carried his uncle's corpse. He quickly got into an SUV in front of the mansion, started the car, and left the mansion. As he drove, Yu Haitian dialed Yanjing's house Yu's number. Through Yu phone he found Yu Shuixing. Yu Haitian cried out, Second uncle, bad news, third uncle was killed. What did you say? Who was killed? Yu Shuixing paused, not understanding Yu Haitian's words. Third uncle. Third uncle was beaten to death. Yu Haitian repeated himself. Bide. He's dead? How did he die? Who killed him? Yu Shuixing's face paled when he heard Yu Haitian's words, and even his tone changed. Yes, third uncle is dead. He was beaten to death by a dog. Yu Haitian felt that something was off. What? Yu Shuixing thought that he'd heard wrong. What did you say? Who killed him? Dog. Yu Haitian smiled bitterly. Dog? You're saying that Bide was killed by a dog? Are you kidding me? Haitian, are you kidding me? It's not April Fool's today, is it? Yu Shuixing asked in disbelief. After all, this was too unbelievable. His third brother was a mystic early-phase spiritual practitioner. How could he be killed by a dog? Second uncle, I'm not mistaken. Third uncle really was killed by a dog. Yu Haitian sweated as he recalled the scene. Chapter 951. House Yu shocked. Yes, uncle, it's the kind of dog that barks. Haitian explained, sweating profusely. Are you serious? Killed by a dog? Shuixing felt that Haitian's words were a little unbelievable. A mystic early-phase spiritual practitioner was killed by a dog? Second uncle, how would I dare to joke about such an important matter? Haitian said, sweating profusely. He was killed by the dog called General Weiwu by Lin Yi's side. Wasn't that dog killed by Yu Kuan? Shuixing paused. It didn't die. The dog was pretty smart. Lin Yi told it that the father pays the son's debts, so the dog killed uncle. Haitian said, your uncle is a mystic early-phase spiritual practitioner. Even a normal person wouldn't be able to kill him that easily, let alone a dog. Shuixing didn't understand. Even if the dog had a high IQ and knew how to get revenge on Yu Bide, it still needed the ability to do so. Yes, second uncle. I think that dog is not an ordinary dog. Although I am not a cultivator, the powerful aura that came from the dog's body indicates that it is not an ordinary dog. Yu Haitian said with some lingering fear. So you guys went to cause trouble for Pengzhan today, and then that General Weiwu came out and killed Yu Bide? Shuixing finally had an idea. But he still didn't believe that a dog could be that strong. No, uncle, Lin Yi wasn't injured at all, and his strength didn't drop. Haitian said fearfully. He's a wolf in sheep's clothing. It's been so many days and there's no news from him at all. Just when third uncle and I were about to go and take Pengzhan's daughter away by force, Lin Yi suddenly showed up and sent third uncle flying with one palm. That General Weiwu rushed over and gave him a kick, and third uncle died just like that. Lin Yi wasn't injured? His strength didn't drop? A dog is a practitioner? This series of news exploded in Shuixing's ears, and he didn't know what to do. What was going on? Hadn't they already investigated it? Lin Yi was heavily injured and didn't have any strength at all. How did he suddenly recover? And his strength wasn't affected at all. Was he pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger? Did he purposely create the illusion of being injured to lure the enemy over? No. Shuisheng frowned. It was possible that Linny was a wolf in sheep's clothing. But that dog couldn't possibly do that. Yukuan had already said that he killed the dog, and its internal organs were all destroyed. Even if he could save it, it would be a cripple. How was it possible that it became a training dog? Shuisheng thought of a terrifying possibility. Linny had been injured before, but now he'd recovered, and not only that, he'd become even stronger. It was the same for that dog. It was already injured beyond repair, but now it had actually become a cultivation dog. What kind of great power was behind Linny? Even the hidden houses didn't have this kind of power, right? Not only did he manage to save the lives of a severely injured man and a dying dog, he even gave them more powerful strength. How many heavenly materials and earthly treasures were used, and how many experts were guarding it to achieve such an effect? Shuisheng realized that he'd made a huge mistake. He shouldn't have gone to Songshan to join in the fun. If the Shao family wanted to die, then let them be. He could just sit back and watch the tigers fight. Why did he have to get involved? However, there was no medicine for regret in this world. After hearing that his third brother was killed, Shuisheng really wanted to cry, but no tears came out. Linny knew how powerful Haosu was, and yet he dared to kill Yu Bide. There were only two possibilities. One was that he was rash, and the other was that Linny had something to rely on. He wasn't afraid of Haosu, or rather, the power behind him wasn't afraid of Haosu. Of course, Shuisheng was leaning towards the latter. According to Yukuan, Linny wanted to kill him, and it was Li Fu who spoke up that made Linny go easy on him. The first time was fine, but was it possible for him to be rash again? Plus, Linny had been holding back for so many days, waiting for Haosu to mess with him before killing him at the last moment. What was he trying to do? Was he trying to make an example out of him? Haitian, tell me everything that happened in detail. Don't miss out on any details. Shuisheng took a deep breath and asked. Yes, uncle, this is what happened. Haitian recounted everything that happened, including what he said to his third uncle, as well as Peng Zhan's reaction. In the end, he didn't forget to tell Shuisheng about Linny's arrogant demands. This Linny, how arrogant! How dare he threaten Haosu? Shuisheng was furious after hearing what Linny had Haitian tell him, but his heart was filled with suspicions. What gave Linny the guts to say something like that? From Peng Zhan's reaction, it seemed like he didn't know that Linny's strength had recovered. This meant that Peng Zhan might have been tricked by Linny as well. The kid was pretending to be weak, and he didn't tell anyone about his recovery, all for this final burst of power. Scary. What a scary thought process. Shuisheng sighed. If Linny was as he guessed, then what was his real goal? Was it against Haosu Shao family or Zhao Qibing? Perhaps in his eyes these people were just pawns, and he had a deeper purpose? Yes, uncle, what do we do now? Haitian asked carefully. Bring your uncle's body back to Yanjing immediately. Don't bother with what's going on over there. Shuisheng was scared, truly scared. Haosu had been running amok for so many years, and no one dared to disrespect them, let alone kill them. But Linny was completely unrestrained, killing one of the core members of Haosu and injuring the other, and he even wanted the shares of Haosu's businesses. What's more, he wanted the two girls of Haosu to be his concubines. Was he dreaming, or did he really have the strength to do that? But no matter what, Shuisheng was starting to regret it. For a few map fragments he'd made such a terrifying enemy. This wasn't Haosu's fortune. Chapter 952. Here comes another one. If Linny didn't have a background, then Shuisheng would kill him himself. If he did, then Shuisheng would demand justice for his brother and nephew. Even if he had to take the case to the noble house arbitration, he'd sue Linny for going too far. But Shuisheng had never once considered whether he'd gone too far when he'd sent people to make things difficult for House Chu. Many people would only think about other people's mistakes but never their own. Hatred had clouded Shuisheng's rationality. He didn't think that his family did anything wrong, and that it was all Linny's fault. But no matter what, Shuisheng chose to endure it. He was filled with hatred, but he wouldn't act rashly anymore. Pengzhan was surprised and overjoyed when he saw House Yu running away. He truly didn't think that at the most critical moment for House Chu, when they were about to be destroyed, Lin Yi would turn the situation around in an instant. The arrogant man who wanted to kill his family was killed by General Wei Wu. At the thought, Pengzhan's face turned weird. Since when did General Wei Wu become so strong? He could kill a mystic early phase spiritual practitioner with one kick? Even if Yu Bide was heavily injured by Lin Yi, he couldn't have been killed by a dog so easily, could he? Could it be that Lin Yi had trained or modified General Wei Wu? Sorry I came out late. Lin Yi smiled, but luckily I made it in time. Otherwise I might have had to go to Yanjing if Yao Yao was captured. Who asked you to go? I wouldn't have come back myself. Meng Yao blushed. She felt a very sweet feeling in her heart, but on the outside she didn't seem to care. Didn't you say you lost your strength? How did you become so strong all of a sudden? Well, it's a long story. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. It was a coincidence, I guess. General Wei Wu helped me recover my strength. General Wei Wu? Helped you regain your strength? Pengzhan looked at Lin Yi surprised. Does that mean you don't need to go back home? Only then did Lin Yi remember the issue of returning to his hometown. Previously, he was immersed in the joy of recovering his strength and forgot that he was preparing to return to his hometown. But since Pengzhan had already resigned, Lin Yi couldn't stay any longer. I'll go back after dealing with these problems. Pengzhan didn't say anything, but the Miss face changed. She opened her mouth wanting to say something, but didn't know what to say. She kicked Shu subconsciously. Oh, Shield bro, you're breaking your promise. Yushu spoke up immediately after Meng Yao's signal. Oh, Lin Yi couldn't help but be stunned. How did I go back on my word? We hooked our pinkies before. And you said that if you recovered and became stronger than before, you'd come back to be our bodyguard and stay in the villa forever. Yushu said confidently. Wah. Lin Yi couldn't help but smile bitterly after hearing Yushu's words. Only now did he realize that he had fallen into Yushu's trap. What Yushu said before wasn't out of her own feelings. It was probably premeditated by this girl. Otherwise, why would she say it out so easily? Lin Yi didn't think too much about it at that time. He just casually said a few words to brush off Yushu, but he didn't expect that he would be trapped by that one sentence. Was he going to stay in the villa forever? Haha, I was about to say something to make you stay. But since Shu and Yi have reached an agreement, it seems like my words are unnecessary. I don't need to say anything anymore. Pengzhan laughed. All right. Lin Yi nodded. There was still some time before the 5-year deadline, so Lin Yi wasn't in a rush to go back home. But he didn't know if Tang Yun would be happy when she found out. Oh, Prophet Shu is amazing, lol. Yushu shouted excitedly. Meng Yao was happy as well, but she didn't show it as obviously as Yushu. She only smiled and said, Lin Yi, then I'll have to trouble you from now on. Lin Yi was just about to tease the miss when footsteps came from the villa's courtyard again. Ha! Another one coming to die? Lin Yi's lips curled into a cold smile. That's good. Saves me the trouble of going to them. Xiao family also received news from Jiang Wen today, saying that Pengzhan was planning to escape with Meng Yao, and that the company's shares and properties had been secretly transferred out. This made the Xiao family furious. This was also because Jiang Wen was afraid that one house you wouldn't be enough pressure for Pengzhan. So he contacted the Xiao family and told them to pressure Pengzhan as well. It would be best if Pengzhan was forced into a corner. Jiang Wen appearing at this time would be like a savior, and he wouldn't have to worry about Pengzhan not agreeing to his terms. And so Xiao Ji and Xiao Ben, along with Uncle Pai, went to Pengzhan's company after receiving the call, only to find that Pengzhan wasn't there. It took them a while to get back to Meng Yao's villa, only to see Pengzhan's car. On the way, Xiao Ji called Huli and told her to come to Meng Yao's house as well. After all, this was caused by Huli, and it would be good for her to see Pengzhan's family in such a miserable state. It would be a good way for her to vent her anger. In fact, Xiao Ji really liked this second wife of his. After all, Huli's skills in bed were amazing, and Xiao Ji felt like dying every day. He didn't forget to bring Huli along when he came to Pengzhan's place to vent his anger. Go Huli was having her beauty treatment outside when she heard that her husband had brought Uncle Pai and his brother-in-law to cause trouble for Peng Zhan. She couldn't be bothered with the treatment any longer. She washed her face and drove her Ferrari home in a hurry. What happened to Peng Zhan's house? Why's the door like this? Xiaoji looked at Meng Yao's villa curiously. Why did the door look like it was kicked to pieces? Could it be that someone is a step ahead of us and is looking for trouble? Xiaobin frowned. Even Haoxiu was here, and the Xiao family naturally knew about it as well. They also found out about Haoxiu's conditions. Haoxiu wanted all of Peng Zhan Industries shares, and didn't that include Peng Zhan's business building and hotel? Chapter 953. Don't pretend. That's impossible, right? If Haoxiu comes, wouldn't we have wasted our efforts? Xiaoji was getting a little pissed at the thought. He strode into the villa, yelling as he walked, "Where's Peng Zhan? Get out here right now." However, no one in the villa responded. Damn it, is there anyone? Peng Zhan, you old bastard, are you there or not? Xiaoji was panicking. If Peng Zhan wasn't here, or if he was killed, then who would the Xiao family ask for money from? However, she did not answer him this time. Xiaoji and Xiaobin couldn't wait to enter the villa, only to see Peng Zhan, Meng Yao and even Linny there. The few of them stood in the living room of the villa, looking at Xiaoji and the others with a strange expression. What are you looking at? Damn it, why aren't you answering when I'm talking to you? Are you deaf or scared silly? Xiaoji felt that Peng Zhan and the others were acting a little weird, but he didn't think too much about it. He was here for money and property after all. How could he get it if he wasn't a little more forceful? Mr. Xiao, I don't know why you're making such a fuss in my daughter's villa. Peng Zhan was emboldened. He knew that Linny had recovered his strength, so he wasn't as afraid as before. What can I do for you? Fuck you, Peng Zhan, don't play dumb with me. Have you thought about the conditions I gave you last time? 200 million yuan of startup capital, property rights of Peng Zhan Commercial Building and Peng Zhan Business Hotel. Xiaoji was a very uncouth person, and he felt a sense of superiority in front of Peng Zhan. As a result, cursing and swearing was very pleasurable for him, especially when he saw Peng Zhan's expression of anger but not daring to speak up. It gave Xiaoji a great sense of satisfaction. Mr. Xiao, you are also a descendant of an aristocratic family. How can you speak so uncivilly? Peng Zhan looked at Xiaoji mockingly. He felt as if he had vented his frustration. This was the first time he didn't have to look at Xiaoji's face. Fuck, do I need you to teach me how to speak? If you don't want to die, don't talk nonsense. Are you out of your mind? Xiaoji didn't want to waste any more time with Peng Zhan as he reached out his hand. Are you going to give us 200 million? Linny looked at Xiaoji and asked calmly. Give it to your mother. Xiaoji couldn't help but glare at Linny. Who the hell are you? I'm Linny, don't you know me? Linny ignored Xiaoji's insults and explained in a tone that was neither servile nor overbearing. Linny? Ha ha ha, I know you are that useless trash without strength. You still dare to come out and join the fun? When Xiaoji heard Linny's name, the expression on his face instantly became incomparably wonderful. He immediately convulsed with laughter. Xiaobin suddenly felt that something was wrong. He was more meticulous than his brother Xiaoji, and was the smartest person in the Xiao family. When he saw Linny appear in Peng Zhan's expression, there was no fear or anger on his face, only calmness. His heart skipped a beat. No, something was definitely wrong. Xiaobin frowned and pulled Xiaoji back, stopping him from continuing. He carefully probed, Peng Zhan, did someone come here earlier? Yes. Peng Zhan smiled inwardly. This Xiaobin wasn't an idiot, only realizing that something was wrong now, but it was already too late. Peng Zhan knew Linny's personality very well. If the Xiao family had cried and begged for mercy as soon as they came in, and given Linny some conditions, perhaps Linny would let them go. But now that Xiaoji had completely offended Linny, would Linny still let them go? Is it Haoxiu? Xiaobin's face was a little ugly. As far as he was concerned, Haoxiu must have come and made some sort of agreement with Peng Zhan. That was why Pengzhan was so fearless. Even the crippled Linny jumped out. Yes. Pengzhan nodded. What did Haosu give you? Xiaoben's face darkened. If Haosu was really involved in this, then things wouldn't be good. Haosu gave me the shares of Haosu's auction house and another business, along with 2 Haosu girls as concubines. Linny looked at Xiaoben and said faintly, now it's your Xiao family's turn. I heard that you asked for 200 million? You also asked for the property rights of Pengzhan Business Tower and Pengzhan Business Hotel? Very well, give me 400 million, and the property rights of the 4 businesses and you can get lost. What? Xiaoben froze, not really understanding what Linny was saying. If Haosu came and asked for benefits, then at the same time, they had secretly agreed to some of Pengzhan's conditions, which would make Pengzhan calm down again. After all, Xiaoben had heard that Haosu wanted Pengzhan's daughter, Mengyao, to be a concubine, and Pengzhan would be Haosu's father-in-law, so he had the right to be calm. But now it didn't seem to be the case. Lin Yi's words made Xiaoben feel strange. From Lin Yi's words, it seemed like Haosu had suffered a loss here, and they had no choice but to agree to some conditions. If Haosu and Pengzhan were really on good terms, then would Lin Yi still be able to say such outrageous things? However, Xiaoben only froze for a moment, and he had an idea. If Lin Yi didn't say such a messy and serious thing, Xiaoben might be afraid, suspicious, and think that Pengzhan had gotten help from Haosu. But with Lin Yi's words, Xiaoben was relieved. Haosu was a powerful existence after all. They were the #1 noble house among all the noble houses. How could Haosu compensate Pengzhan with the shares of Haosu's auction house and another business? As for Haosu sending 2 girls to be Lin Yi's concubines, that was even more impossible. How noble were the girls of Haosu? Even if they were to marry, they would choose another noble house, and they had to be the legal wife. Why would they be someone's concubine? And so, Xiaoben naturally thought that he had guessed the truth behind Pengzhan's calmness. They must be faking it. Before he came, they had already discussed it, pretending to be so calm, making him think that they had something to rely on, using this to scare him away. Indeed, Pengzhan's expression did scare Xiaoben. But their mistake was to let Lin Yi jump out and say something that seemed so powerful and scary. Lin Yi's words were a little too overboard. Although it was powerful, if it was too powerful, then he would be an idiot. Chapter 954. Chapter 952. A strange scene here. Uncle Pai walked out coldly and looked at Pengzhan. Pengzhan, this old man doesn't want to kill anyone, so I hope you can make the right choice. Wei Jizuan was barely alive in my hands, but you're too weak. Oh? I heard that you were the one who hit Wei Jizuan, heavily injuring him? Lin Yi turned to Uncle Pai. That's right, it was me. Do you want to try? Uncle Pai nodded proudly. Oh, I'd have forgotten if you hadn't reminded me. Everything you've done to Uncle Chu, I'll pay you back double. Lin Yi's voice was as calm as ever, without a hint of emotion. But you're too weak in front of me. If I hit you twice, you'd be dead. What did you say, you brat? Uncle Pai was furious after hearing Lin Yi's words. As far as he was concerned, a cripple talking to him like that was suicidal. How about this? Seeing that you're doing things for the Xiao family, I won't kill you. Lin Yi said faintly. I'll use 50% of my strength to hit you, and if you can take it, you can leave. I won't make things difficult for you. But if you can't take it, then there's nothing I can do. Wah. Uncle Pai paused for a moment before bursting into laughter. He slapped his chest. You hit me? All right, I'll let you. But if you can't kill me, then I'll kill you. Let's see what you can do. With that, Uncle Pai stood in front of Lin Yi with his chest puffed out. He was a mystic mid-phase peak physical practitioner, and even before Lin Yi lost his strength, Lin Yi was only a mystic early phase. They were 2 levels apart. And so Uncle Pai didn't put Lin Yi in his eyes at all. Wait. Xiaoben saw that Lin Yi seemed to be serious and suddenly hesitated. If he was just showing off, then why did he slap Uncle Pai in the first place? Therefore, Xiaoben wanted to ask again. What happened today was a bit too strange. However, Xiaoben was still a step too late. Lin Yi's palm smacked out. Uncle Pai was still laughing and patting his chest, looking at Lin Yi mockingly. but the next moment, he was like a kite with a broken string, flying out of the villa with a whoosh, landing on the road in front of the villa with a loud thud. Xiao Ji was stunned and so was Xiao Bin. They all stared blankly at Lin Yi. As far as they knew, Lin Yi didn't have any strength left. How could he send Uncle Pai flying with a single palm strike? Could it be? Xiao Ji and Xiao Bin looked at each other and thought of a terrifying possibility. Lin Yi's strength didn't disappear. It was all an illusion. You. Xiao Ji's eyes widened as he pointed at Lin Yi, saying you 3 times, but he couldn't say anything else. Don't you? I was afraid that I would kill him, so I only used 40% of my strength. He probably won't die, Lin Yi said calmly. Xiao Ji and Xiao Bin heard Lin Yi's words and didn't say anything else. They turned around and ran out of the mansion, wanting to check on Uncle Pai's injuries. After all, Uncle Pai was the Xiao family's only support. If anything happened to Uncle Pai, then the Xiao family's strength would plummet. Right now, the Xiao family's status as a noble family was in danger. Nothing could happen to Uncle Pai. The two of them quickly ran out of the courtyard, but just as they stepped out of the mansion, they heard a screech of brakes. The car screeched to a halt. Bang! Just as Peeble flew out of the mansion, he was hit by an oncoming red Ferrari and was sent flying. Uncle Pai screamed in pain as he fell to the ground, blood bubbling out of his mouth. He wasn't going to make it. Huh? Xiao Ji and Xiao Bin looked at each other with their eyes wide open. Wasn't this too much of a coincidence? How did Uncle Pai get hit by a car? Xiao Ji and Xiao Bin were dumbfounded. They didn't know what to do, and just as they were about to check on Uncle Pai, a woman jumped out of the red Ferrari and started yelling, "Which old fart is this? Don't you watch where you're going? You just came out like that. Are you trying to extort money from me? Let me tell you, don't even think about extorting money from me. Who do you think I am? I'm from the Xiao family from Yanjing. My Ferrari is worth a few million yuan, and it even damaged my car." It was Xiao Ji's second wife, Go Huli. Go Huli had received a call from Xiao Ji saying that she was going to humiliate Peng Zhan's family today, and so she hurried back from the beauty salon. She wanted to see Peng Zhan's family as soon as possible, so she drove a little faster. But just as she reached House Chu's mansion, a black shadow ran in front of her car, and Go Huli couldn't stop in time, sending the black shadow flying. When she got out of the car, she realized that it was an old man, his face covered in blood from being hit by her car. Go Huli was used to being arrogant, and she wasn't afraid of something like this. Wasn't it just a car accident? She didn't do it on purpose, and at most she'd just pay some money. While Go Huli was acting arrogantly, Xiao Ji and Xiao Bin were dumbfounded. They never would have thought that the person who hit Uncle Pai was Go Huli. Xiao Ji was infuriated and rushed over, swinging his arm and giving Go Huli a big slap. "You useless bitch, are you blind?" Go Huli was stunned and looked at Xiao Ji in disbelief. "Hubby, why did you hit me? Hit you? Are you fucking blind? Do you even know how to drive? Fuck your fourth uncle." Xiao Ji slapped again, and Go Huli's mouth started bleeding. "Look at who you hit. It's Uncle Pai. You bitch." Huh. Go Huli was dumbfounded by Xiao Ji's words. What? The person she hit was Uncle Pai? Bro, alright, don't hit sis-in-law, let's check on Uncle Pai first. Xiao Bin was panicking as well, but he knew the severity of the situation. What could hitting solve at a time like this? Let's check on Uncle Pai first. Humph. I'll deal with you when we get home. Xiao Ji quickly turned around and ran to Uncle Pai. Chapter 955. Roles reversed, it's over. Xiao Bin only took one look, and his heart immediately turned cold. His head is smashed and his brain juice is flowing out. Can he still live? Hurry up and call the ambulance. Xiao Ji was panicking as well, glaring at Huli. What are you looking at? Hurry up and call the ambulance. Oh, yes. Go Huli nodded and took out her phone to call the emergency center. In the villa, Lin Yi's eyes were wide open as well. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. Wasn't this too much? How did this Uncle Pai die? Did he get hit by himself or did he get run over by a car? Yao, that Huli's so pitiful. She killed a master from the Xiao family. Shield Bro's been merciful for nothing. Yushu said regretfully. She'll probably be hung up and beaten when we get home tonight. I really want to go see. The scene was a little bloody, but it was a dramatic ending. Meng Yao couldn't help but smile. Yeah, their family sure is unlucky. Pengzhan didn't expect things to end up like this too. The Xiao family's master got run over by the Xiao family's daughter-in-law. The Xiao family had fallen to a certain point, and Pengzhan didn't have the heart to bully them anymore. You guys go deal with the funerals first. When you're done, I'll get someone to talk to me about the 400 million and the 4 properties. Lin Yi looked at the Xiao family brothers and shook his head. You guys saw it yourself, life is full of surprises, and the next one might be you. Xiao Ji and Xiao Bin shivered at Lin Yi's threat. At this moment they truly felt fear. Lin Yi's strength hadn't disappeared at all, but that wasn't the problem. The problem was that Uncle Pai was dead. The Xiao family wouldn't have anything to rely on anymore, wouldn't they? Xiao Ji and Xiao Bin were both shocked and infuriated. They didn't think that Lin Yi wouldn't stop after Uncle Pai's death. He wanted to extort money and for properties from them. This was simply going too far. But they didn't realize that after they'd let Uncle Pai injure Wei Zhizuan, they'd pushed Pengzhan into a corner as well. But how could the Xiao family have any property rights? They wouldn't need to fight for Pengzhan's property if they had their own. As for the 400 million, the Xiao family could afford it, but that was after selling all their properties in Yanjing. They were preparing to expand their business in Songshan. How could they give it to Lin Yi? But the current situation was that the Xiao family didn't want to give it to him. Would Lin Yi let them go? Looking at Uncle Pai and the Xiao family being taken away by the ambulance, Lin Yi didn't feel the slightest bit of sympathy. Perhaps this was what they meant by, the evils they brought upon themselves are the hardest to bear. It's time for the next house. Lin Yi shrugged and turned to Pengzhan. Uncle Chu, I'm going to the floating cloud bar. Uh-oh? You're still planning to cause trouble for Zhao Qibing. Pengzhan paused. Since they came to our doorstep, how can they learn their lesson if I don't teach them a lesson? Lin Yi shook his head. But this Zhao Qibing doesn't seem to have a good memory. Alright, be careful. Pengzhan saw that Lin Yi was so insistent, so he didn't say anything else. He knew that the strong preyed on the weak. If you didn't teach them a lesson after being bullied, they'd think that you were afraid of them. They'd come back to bully you again. Only when someone bullies you and you step on them back fiercely, to the point where the other party is afraid of you, can you make them fear you. But you better come back early, Pengzhan said hesitantly. After all, it's a critical period right now. I'm worried that House Yu and Xiao family will retaliate and come back to take revenge on Yao Yao and Shu. Don't worry, Lin Yi smiled. General Wei Wu isn't someone to be trifled with. Besides, would they dare to come back? But, Uncle Chu, you'll have to spend your own money to fix the door. We don't know when we'll get House Yu's property back. As long as House Yu and Xiao family had enough power, they'd definitely come back for revenge. But now wasn't the time. Of course. Pengzhan smiled bitterly. Only Lin Yi dared to say something like that. He killed Yu Bide and still dared to ask for benefits from House Yu. But his father was right. Lin Yi was Lin Yi after all. Songshan's passive situation still depended on him to solve it. It was as if all the troubles had disappeared in an instant. The weak side had become the strong side. Pengzhan couldn't even get used to the sudden change of roles. Just this morning, he was still worried about House Chu's future and his daughter's future. But now he was worried about House Yu, Xiao family and Zhao Qibing. Lin Yi, be careful. Meng Yao waited for Lin Yi to walk to the door before speaking. Her tone was flat, but Lin Yi could see the deep concern in her eyes the moment he turned back to look at the Mississippi. Okay. Lin Yi nodded. The miss had always been like this, cold on the outside but warm on the inside. Lin Yi was used to it. Good luck, Shield Bro. Yushu waved her fist. I've always had high hopes for you. Lin Yi nodded to them and left the villa. He got on Yushu's beetle and drove to the floating cloud bar. Zhang Wen had encouraged House Yu and Xiao family to go after Pengzhan, and Zhang Wen was waiting for Pengzhan to call him for help. From his perspective, Pengzhan would definitely agree to his suggestion under the pressure of House Yu and Xiao family. There was no other reason. Although Meng Yao might not like him, Marrying him was the best option for Meng Yao compared to marrying a stranger like Haoxiu. He believed that Peng Zhan wasn't an idiot. He should be able to understand this. If Meng Yao married him, Peng Zhan would not only protect Peng Zhan Industries, but also his daughter's happiness. Jiang Wen truly liked Meng Yao, so even if he married Meng Yao, he would love her dearly and wouldn't do anything to her. Jiang Wen looked at the time on his watch. Didn't Haoxiu say they were going early in the morning? It was already 8 and he didn't know if there were any results yet. There was no news from Xiao family either. Were they going or not? Chapter 956. Chapter 954. Jiang Wen's hint. With that in mind, Jiang Wen dialed Zhao Qibing's number without hesitation. Zhao Qibing was in the floating cloud bar, doing some recovery exercises. His legs were finally able to stand up and walk under Yao Wang's meticulous treatment. Yao Wang's medical skills weren't as good as Lin Yi's, but it was still much better than recovering in the hospital. Tang Juqing had been able to stand up and walk a long time ago, but he could only stand up now. But Zhao Qibing felt that this was a happy event. That's why his legs were recovering so fast. His biggest enemy in Songshan, Lin Yi, was finally done for. Zhao Qibing had already considered Lin Yi as an obstacle to his development in Songshan. He believed that as long as Lin Yi was gone, he'd be able to do whatever he wanted. It wasn't his fault for thinking like that. Before, no matter what he did, he'd always get in the way of Lin Yi. He'd even demolished Lin Yi's girlfriend's house. How unlucky. Humph, Lin Yi, that's what you get for showing off in front of me after I'm done with House Chu. I'll go play with your wife. Tang Yin? Haha, I've had my eyes on her since a long time ago. I'll make you cry then. With that thought, Zhao Qibing couldn't help but chuckle happily. Master Bing, what's the matter? Why are you so happy? Sihua walked in after hearing Master Bing's laughter. My legs are healed, and Lin Yi is done for. Zhao Qibing said excitedly. Right, did House Chu contact us? What's the deadline they gave them? Congratulations, Master Bing. Congratulations to you. From now on, Songshan belongs to you, Master Bing. You'll be able to do whatever you want. Sihua congratulated. The deadline they gave Peng Zhan is today. Oh? Then why didn't they contact us? Zhao Qibing was getting impatient a while ago. He'd almost died of depression from being stepped on. Now that he finally had the chance to step on someone else, he was naturally impatient. Then I'll go find Peng Zhan with Yao Wang later and threaten him? Sihua asked after some hesitation. Sure, I'll go with you later. Qibing wanted to enjoy the fun of stepping on people. Master Bing, how's your leg? Sihua asked hesitantly. I'm fine. Look, I'm all right now. Qibing walked 2 rounds on the ground. He hadn't been in the wheelchair for long, so he got back to normal after a bit of recovery training. Look at how smooth I'm walking. I can trot. I can jump. Look, Master Bing, you're amazing. Ha, I bet Lin Yi's going to be pissed to see how fast your legs healed. Sihua congratulated. Yeah, I'm going to piss Lin Yi off, and this time I'm going to break his legs. None of you help me, I'll do it myself, Qibing said. Zhao Qibing was feeling proud of himself when his phone rang. He picked it up and saw that it was Jiang Wen calling. Was this guy giving him money again? Hello? Master Wen, why are you calling me at this hour? Qibing picked up. Master Bing. I have some news to tell you. Jiang Wen purposely lowered his voice. I heard that Peng Zhan wants to escape. He ran to Meng Yao's villa early in the morning, planning to escape with Meng Yao. I heard that House Yu and Xiao family are looking for him now. Master Bing, you have to hurry, don't let them escape. Oh? Really? Qibing paused. He wasn't worried that Peng Zhan would run away, but he couldn't run away with his temple. He wanted a real estate company different from Xiao family and House Yu. Xiao family wanted money and property, while House Yu wanted people and shares. They were afraid that Peng Zhan would run away with the money and Meng Yao, but Qibing wasn't afraid of this. But Qibing was afraid that Peng Zhan didn't have that much money. Xiao family wanted 200 million, and if Peng Zhan didn't have it, he would have to use something else to replace it. House Yu wouldn't agree to that. After all, they wanted the shares of Pingzhan Industries, and they might even use his real estate company's assets to make up the difference. Wouldn't that be a huge loss for him? Although Xiao family and House Yu wouldn't take away the real estate company directly, they still had to give him face. But Qibing was afraid that they would take away the land and properties under the real estate company, leaving behind an empty shell. What use would he have then? Besides, if those things fell into House Yu and Xiao family's pockets, he wouldn't be able to ask for them anymore. He could only blame it on his bad luck. After all, he was robbing someone else's stuff. First come, first serve. Yeah, I'm afraid that if you're late, it'll be too late, Zhang Wen said. But don't you like Ming Yao? How are you going to tip me off? Qibing wasn't an idiot. He knew that Zhang Wen was Meng Yao's pursuer, and he didn't care about what he did to House Chu, but he didn't understand why Zhang Wen wanted him to be more ruthless towards House Chu. I like her, but she doesn't like me. She's going to marry into House Yu soon. What's the use of liking her? If she came to me earlier, she wouldn't be in this situation now. Zhang Wen said this on purpose to give Qibing a heads up. She'll be the wife of the Firewolf gang, and even House Yu will have to give them face. Yeah, but that girl asked for it herself, who can she blame? Qibing agreed. It was indeed the case, so he went along with it. Man, I really can't bear to part with her. But you're right, Meng Yao is looking for trouble herself, and she doesn't even come to me when she's in trouble. What else can I do? Zhang Wen sighed. All right, Master One, my condolences. You're a healthy man with 2 kidneys now, you have to look forward. There's no impermanence grass in the world. There's no need to look for Meng Yao. Qibing consoled. Yeah, then I won't disturb you anymore, Master Bing. I'm calling you because of Master Bing's help. I became a normal person and regained my manhood. Zhang Wen said. Why else would I stick my nose into other people's business? I know. Thank you, Master One. Qibing didn't doubt Zhang Wen's words this time and believed him. After hanging up, Qibing called Sihua over. Sihua, I just received news that Pengzhan is trying to escape, and now House Yu and Xiao family are looking for him. If we're late, all the benefits will be taken by others, and we won't get anything at all. Chapter 957. He can do it first. Yes, we'll go now. Go get Yaowang, we'll go now, Qibing said. All right, I'll go now. Sihua nodded. Where are you guys going? A voice rang out, scaring Qibing and Sihua. Lin Yi? Qibing froze as he looked at the newcomer in disbelief. Who else could it be if not Lin Yi? Are you guys looking for me? So there's no need to go. I'm here. Lin Yi looked at Qibing with a mocking look. Your legs healed? No wonder you're jumping around so happily. Looks like you're better off sitting in a wheelchair. What do you mean? Lin Yi, you're crippled. How dare you come here? Are you tired of living? Qibing couldn't help but feel troubled after hearing Lin Yi's words. Was Lin Yi out of his mind? He could tolerate his arrogance when he was strong, but now that he didn't have the strength, how could he be so arrogant? Who told you I'm crippled? Lin Yi looked at Qibing, a little surprised. Are you dreaming? Can't you tell reality from a dream? Are you hallucinating? Qibing was stunned by Lin Yi's words, but he remembered that Lin Yi was crippled, and he was the one who sent people to test him, so it shouldn't be a lie. With that thought, he forced himself to calm down. Lin Yi, stop pretending. I'm the one who found the Baldy in the parking lot of Starlight Hotel. I know your background like the back of my hand. You're trying to scare me? Is it because Pengzhan has no other choice but to send you to stop me? Oh. Lin Yi frowned. So it was Qibing who sent the Baldy. If I'm not wrong, Pengzhan is probably packing his things and planning to run away, right? Did they send you here to buy time? Qibing saw the frown on Lin Yi's face and thought that he'd hit the nail on the head. He continued to use his reasoning skills. But Lin Yi, aren't you an idiot? Why are you so stupid? You're still working for Chu Pengzhan in this kind of situation. How much does he pay you? I asked you to scare me because I wanted you to be my cannon fodder. Do you think that you can leave now that you've come? Don't you know that I've wanted you dead for a long time? Oh, Uncle Chu didn't ask me to come, I came on my own. Linny mercilessly denied Qibing's reasoning. Quack. Qibing paused. I know you've always liked that girl Ming Yao, right? You sacrificed yourself for her. Am I right? Sigh, since ancient times, servants have been affectionate. They were willing to die for the young miss. I didn't expect to see the modern version. Wow, this is so touching. Your legs are healed, what's wrong with your head? Linny looked at the arrogant Qibing and shook his head regretfully. Looks like you'll still have to sit in a wheelchair. If your IQ continues to develop like this, you'll end up in a vegetative state. Fuck, what did you say? Qibing slammed the table and pointed at the wheelchair behind him. Linny, how dare you say something like that when you're here? Do you really want to die? You want me to sit in a wheelchair? Do you know why I didn't throw it away after using it? Because you already knew that it would be useful? Linny looked at Qibing surprised. Ha! You're not stupid. You knew that I prepared this wheelchair for you? Qibing laughed. That's right, I'll let you come in standing and leave in a wheelchair. Oh, it's not me who's stupid, it's you. Linny shook his head regretfully. You're wrong. I thought you were like Prophet Shu, a prophet soldier. I knew you'd have to sit in a wheelchair. Yao Wang, take control of this kid. I'll break his legs myself. Qibing was furious. In his imagination, when he saw Linny again, Linny would kneel down and beg him with tears and snot. But Linny was still so arrogant even though he had lost his strength. This created a huge gap between Qibing's dream and reality, and he was extremely pissed off. Although he could take revenge on Linny now, it wasn't as satisfying as that. Yes, the king pharmacist replied. He had already heard the commotion and was waiting by the side. Although Yao Wang wasn't good at fighting, taking down Linny, who had lost all his strength, was a piece of cake for him. Yao Wang was the one who was most confident that Linny had lost all his strength. He was the one who analyzed and deduced that Linny had lost all his strength, so Yao Wang grabbed at Linny without any hesitation. But in the next moment, he realized that he couldn't grab Linny. Huh, you're still running so fast when you've lost your strength? Yao Wang looked at Linny, who was dodging to the side, and said in disbelief, You're quite good at escaping, aren't you? You can run if you can't win, but it's a pity that your legs will be crippled by Master Bing in a few days. No matter how good your Qigong is, it's useless. Right, Master Bing? Haha. He had been with Master Bing for a long time and learned his laughter. He was able to imitate it perfectly. However, after Yao Wang finished speaking, he looked at Master Bing, but he didn't see Master Bing laughing out loud as he expected. At this moment, Master Bing's eyes were wide open as he looked at him in shock. This made Yao Wang confused. Master Bing, what's wrong? Your body. Master Bing's eyes were wide open as if he had seen a ghost. He pointed at Yao Wang and said in disbelief, What's wrong with my body? Yao Wang lowered his head in confusion and looked at his body. But when he looked, he was shocked, The king of medicine was shocked to discover that his entire body had been pierced with numerous silver needles. He suddenly remembered that when he tried to catch Linny, he felt a faint prickling pain all over his body, but he didn't care at that time. Because he was a medical student, he knew that the human body would sometimes have nervous itching and prickling pain. This was not a rare thing, so he didn't care. But now he realized that it was not the case at all. What did you do to my body? Yao Wang looked at Linny in shock, his face full of horror. Nothing. Aren't you good at harming people? I heard that you wanted to poison my house? Linny shrugged and said innocently, So I had to make the first move. But I heard that you're very powerful, so you should be able to deal with it yourself, right? Chapter 958. Who told you that? Yao Wang subconsciously circulated his pure energy to check. However, he didn't notice anything strange after circulating his pure energy. However, the more he felt, the more worried Yao Wang became. Because Li Dilei's energy was suppressed by Lin Yi's silver needles. He couldn't feel anything if he didn't remove the needles. It's nothing. Aren't you the miracle doctor Zhao Yao Wang? A mocking smile appeared on Lin Yi's lips. It's spreading like wildfire on the internet right now. So I believe that you'll be able to deal with it. Is it the same as Li Delay's pure energy needles? Yao Wang asked in shock. Oh, more or less, but I modified it a little. It's not the same as last time, Lin Yi said. Didn't you notice that the needles were inserted into your meridians? Yao Wang's expression became even more shocked. What will happen? It's nothing. I've compressed my pure energy and sealed it in your meridians. You'll be fine as long as you don't pull it out. Lin Yi smiled. Of course you can pull it out too. So what? Yao Wang's face darkened. Isn't your strength gone? How can you still have pure energy? Why are you as dumb as that idiot Zhao Qibing? You're on his side after all, taking things for granted. Lin Yi curled his lips. May I ask who told you that my strength is gone? Yao Wang thought. Who told me? Didn't I guess it myself? If you pull out the silver needles, then my true qi will explode in your body with a bang. Lin Yi said exaggeratedly. After that, your meridians will be destroyed, and your strength will be greatly reduced. After you pull out all the needles, your meridians will be destroyed, and congratulations, you can practice physical arts from now on. Lin Yi said exaggeratedly. After that, your meridians will be destroyed. This was a bad idea that Lin Yi came up with after his meridians were damaged. He used it on Yao Wang. However, to deal with a person like the Medicine King, it was impossible not to hurt him a little. Impossible. The Medicine King's face suddenly became sinister. You're lying, you don't even have your strength, you're just using a few silver needles to pretend. You don't have any innate qi, I can't feel any innate qi fluctuations in your body. My strength is higher than yours, of course you can't feel it. Lin Yi thought to himself, you're not me. A normal inner force expert can only see the opponent's strength when they circulate their true qi. Even if the opponent's strength is much higher than the opponent's, they can still see the opponent's strength at a glance. Otherwise, unless you have a golden finger like Lin Yi, you can see the opponent's strength. Bullshit. You don't have any strength left. The Medicine King was the one who was most certain that Lin Yi had lost his strength, so he did not believe that Lin Yi still had any strength left. If you don't believe me, then forget it. You can pull out a silver needle and try. Lin Yi said indifferently. So be it. You think I don't dare? The Medicine King said as he stretched out his hand to pull out the silver needle in his chest. But when his hand touched the needle, he paused for a moment and moved his hand to his left leg to pull out the needle. Lin Yi secretly laughed but did not say anything. Even though the Medicine King shouted that he was not afraid, he still did not dare to pull out the silver needle in his chest. One must know that near the chest was the main meridian. If it was destroyed, then his strength would directly drop from mystic class to golden class. The left leg was not important, the innate qi stored there was very little. After the meridian was destroyed, at most the left leg would not be able to use innate qi, but for an expert like the Medicine King who was not good at fighting, it was not important. The Medicine King directly pulled out the silver needle in his leg, and the result was immediately dumbfounded. With a loud sound, he felt as if his left leg was about to explode. The meridian in it was instantly destroyed by Lin Yi's huge innate qi. The Medicine King screamed and staggered, almost falling to the ground. The Medicine King's face changed from pain to fear. He looked at Lin Yi, beads of sweat dripping down his face. Impossible. This is impossible. Why didn't you lose your strength? Medicine King cried in his heart. What was wrong with Lin Yi? Was he pretending to be weak? He didn't lose his strength, why didn't he show it in the parking lot? He made him think that Lin Yi had lost his strength. At this moment, Qibing and Sihua were dumbfounded as well. What? Lin Yi didn't lose his strength? In other words, Lin Yi was still as strong as before? Fuck. Zhao Qibing remembered the words he said to Lin Yi before, and he wanted to slap himself a few times. His mouth was too dirty, his mouth was too dirty. With Lin Yi's temper, he was done for. I'm still confused. Who told you that I don't have any strength? Who told you that? Or are you imagining it? Lin Yi looked at Medicine King mockingly. Medicine King's face darkened. I'm not imagining it, am I? He couldn't help but ask bitterly. You have the strength, why didn't you use your qi in the parking lot? Why would I use my qi against a few thieves? Lin Yi shook his head. Plus it's mine, I can use it if I want, I can't use it if I don't want to. Why do you care so much? Medicine King was speechless. Linny was right, the chi was his. He didn't care if he wanted to use it or not. But he still asked, before that, I went to Pengzhan Industries to find trouble with Pengzhan. Chairman Chu, why didn't you stop me? Oh fine, I just pretended that I didn't have any strength. I wanted to see who was trying to harm me, and then I'll step on them. Linny shrugged, admitting it. Fuck. Medicine King couldn't help but curse. Had he been played? Had he become someone who was trying to harm him? And so Linny stepped on him? He only had himself to blame. Who else could he blame? Medicine King felt a wave of sadness in his heart. Then my needles. What should I do? Medicine King smiled bitterly. Aren't you very strong yourself? You can try refining my chi or wait for my meridians to break, then you can repair them. Linny said, right, I forgot to tell you I can repair meridians. If your meridians are broken, you can ask me to repair them. You can repair meridians? Medicine King looked at Linny in shock. Chapter 959. You got lucky. No wonder, no wonder. The Medicine King looked up to the sky and let out a long sigh. If not for the silver needles on his chest and body, he would have pounded his chest and stamped his feet. But he still said sadly, no wonder my prediction failed. Ma Zhu was in such a miserable state, how could you be fine? So you can heal yourself. It's not too late to understand now, Linny said. But, can you help me repair my meridians? Medicine King looked at Linny with a face full of hope. Sure. Linny nodded. Ah. The Medicine King stared blankly for a moment and almost cried out in front of Linny. Could Linny really help him repair his meridians? But my fees are definitely more expensive than a quack like you. Linny said. 1 billion for one meridian. There are 7 meridians and 8 meridians in a martial artist's body. There are a total of 15 main meridians. You can give me 15 billion. I'll give you the other auxiliary meridians. The Medicine King rolled his eyes and almost fainted from anger. 1 billion meridians? Why didn't he just rob someone? Don't think it's expensive. Do you know how many heavenly materials and earthly treasures I have to spend to repair one of your meridians? Maybe my master will have to come personally. My master will have to pay for the journey, right? Linny started to spout nonsense. The Medicine King remained silent, despair written all over his face. Linny shrugged and ignored Yaowang. He turned to Zhao Qibing. Zhao Qibing, it seems like you haven't given up yet? The building has collapsed twice. Don't you know that there are some people you can't afford to offend? It'll be troublesome if you do. Linny boss, huh? I was tricked by House Yu and Xiao family, that's why I did something like this. In fact, I'm scared of you. The expression on Qibing's face was very interesting. In order to save his life, he had no choice but to endure the humiliation. Zhao Qibing knew very well that Linny could do anything, so he pushed all the blame onto House Yu and Xiao family. He didn't believe that Linny would dare to do anything to House Yu and Xiao family. After all, Linny might not know the power of the hidden aristocratic families, but he definitely knew that the aristocratic families of the common world were not to be trifled with. Besides, House Yu had the support of a hidden house, and although the Xiao family was down and out, Zhao Qibing didn't believe that Linny would dare to touch them. After all, if Linny were to touch the Xiao family, the other aristocratic families would definitely sympathize with him. Perhaps they would be the next ones to be affected, and they wouldn't sit idly by. You bite is dead, and so is Uncle Pai. Linny said faintly. Huh. Zhao Qibing heard Linny's words and almost fell on his butt. What's going on? Linny even dared to kill someone from House Yu. From Zhao Qibing's perspective, no matter how arrogant Linny was, he would only touch the Xiao family, not House Yu. He didn't think that Linny would even dare to kill someone from House Yu. Wasn't he being too ruthless? This guy didn't play his cards according to common sense at all. Moreover, he was completely unscrupulous in his actions. Wasn't he afraid that others would take revenge on him? That's right, this time he pretended that he had lost a lot of his strength and attracted some people to take revenge on him. In the end, the people who took revenge were taken revenge on him. No one from your family has died yet, so I'm here. Linny looked at Zhao Qibing and said with a smile that wasn't a smile. Boss Linny, there must be some misunderstanding between us. Zhao Qibing was so scared that his legs couldn't move, and his whole body was trembling. The smile on his face was ugly. Look, if I wasn't bewitched, I wouldn't dare to cause trouble for you. Please don't be impulsive. Don't be afraid. Before I kill someone, I usually give them a chance to choose. Linny waved his hand and interrupted Zhao Qibing. I gave House Yu and Xiao family 2 conditions, but they didn't agree, so there's nothing I can do. I agree. Zhao Qibing nodded. Your condition, I want double, Linny said faintly. My condition? Zhao Qibing's face changed and he smiled bitterly. I want Pingzhan Industries real estate company, but I don't have 2 real estate companies. If I did, I wouldn't need to ask for someone else's. Then you can only die. Linny said. But you're different from House Yu and Xiao family. You're saying that you want Yao Wang to poison us? No, why would I dare to poison you? Zhao Qibing quickly denied. Linny, I was the one who gave the order. Master Bing didn't mean to poison you. I was just afraid that Pingzhan wouldn't listen to me. That's why I said that. Sihua gritted his teeth and stepped forward, deciding to take the blame for Zhao Qibing. Zhao Qibing didn't show up at the time. He just needed to take all the responsibility, and perhaps he would be able to shift Lin Yi's anger onto himself. Oh, it's you? You're the one who wanted to poison Uncle Chu's family? Lin Yi looked at Sihua and asked. That's me. Sihua nodded. Oh, then I'll kill your family too, of course, that includes Zhao Qibing, Lin Yi said nonchalantly. What? Sihua paused, but this has nothing to do with Master Bing. Oh, when you wanted to kill Uncle Chu's family, you didn't think it had anything to do with Yao Yao, so I don't think it has anything to do with Zhao Qibing either, Lin Yi said. Sihua was speechless. Did he stand up and take the blame for nothing? Boss Lin Yi, I don't have a real estate company, but can I use my money to pay off my debt? Zhao Qibing was scared when he heard that Lin Yi had killed Ubaid and Uncle Pai. He believed that Lin Yi would kill him for sure. Oh, that's fine, Lin Yi smiled. Forget it. I'll give you a discount. 200 million is fine. Ah, 200 million. Zhao Qibing's face turned bitter again. I only have 150 million. This 150 million was taken from Zhening Jun and Zhang Wen. It had only been a few days and now it was going to be gone. 50 million, huh? That's fine, you break your own leg and I'll give you 50 million, Lin Yi said. That? Qibing hesitated. Although his leg was just healed, it would be too painful to break it again. But when he thought about it, he would be able to save 50 million and keep his life. It was a good deal. He was just sitting in a wheelchair for a while, it didn't matter. He gritted his teeth. Fine. Sure. Sihua, get a metal rod for Boss Lin Yi and break my leg. That? Okay. Sihua wanted to say something, but thinking about Lin Yi's personality, he shook his head and went out to get the metal rod. You're tuning into the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.